Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Elbow Nudge Podcast. This is episode 11. I'm here with my friend Caroline.
Aye.
Arrgh.
Today,
Savvy?
Savvy.
What
Today's
episode is this?
it's our pirates
The
episode.
Pirate EB1. The Pirates.
Today is a special day, Tony. I'm
It
pretty
is.
sure we've made it evident, but for those who are a little not much inclined, today we're covering the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise.
Dun, 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 dun. All of them.
That's right.
All of them
All
as
of
of
them.
this recording.
All
Keep
of
on
them
singing this song before I
as-
respond. As of this recording, 5.
As of 2022.
Well, Jack Black. I mean, Jack. I can't get School of Rock out of my head.
We're starting off great for this episode. We're starting off so great.
I didn't even want to say
Jack Black.
I didn't even want to say Jack Sparrow. That's what's even worse. I want to say Johnny Depp. Will Johnny Depp return? Pirates 6. That's the part that sucks.
He's not even Johnny anymore. He's Jack Sparrow. This is the episode of Captain Jack Sparrow.
Jack Sparrow.
Bottle.
Jack Bottle.
So everybody, we are covering the films Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl.
Oh, you're gonna name them off.
I'm gonna name them. Here we go.
In order.
In order. Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, Dead Man's Chest, At World's End, On Stranger Tides, and the last one, as of this recording,
Dead Men Tell No Tales.
Exactly. 5 films so far in the franchise. We'll talk a little bit later about the possible upcoming ones, but for right now, we're just going to focus on the beautiful 5 that we have right now. And
they are beautiful, aren't they?
They are. This is a franchise that's very near and dear to our hearts, is it not?
Oh, definitely. We have to get into that a little bit. I think I shared it in other episodes, but why? Because I didn't grow up watching this.
That's right.
I'm a newcomer to the pirate's life.
You're a new pirate.
I just got my sea legs. Arc.
Yeah, you barely got your sea legs. You're still swabbing
I have
the
them
poop
now.
deck.
I have them. I got sea legs.
I'll be the judge of that here, sir.
No, I got it.
This captain has not yet deemed you worthy of your sea legs, son.
I got it, Caroline. Have you not seen my title on CFP?
Have you not seen mine?
Kraken Slayer.
Just because ye can slay a Kraken boy doesn't mean you can pirate the ship. It doesn't make you a captain.
So yeah, we're excited about this episode. We're covering the entire franchise.
I saw The Curse of the Black Pearl in theaters. I'm an OG. I love pirates. I love Pirates of the Caribbean. It's so good.
So I'm a Caribbean guy. Is there a right and wrong way to say it? Because I say Pirates of the Caribbean.
I mean, when you want a vacation to the Caribbean, do you call it the Caribbean?
I've never been, so I haven't had to say it. No.
I just assume that
one round trip ticket to the Caribbean, please.
I assume that the Caribbean is the like how we say the term gringo. So like that's the gringo way to say it, but it's the.
You think so?
it's really called the Caribbean.
The Caribbean.
Yeah, so the Caribbean. And then even when I was watching like the behind the scenes work and stuff, they were like, "Oh yes, we're here on Pirates of the Caribbean," but everybody called it Caribbean.
Hold on. But doesn't Jack Sparrow say, "Welcome to the Caribbean" to Elizabeth when they're left on the island?
Yeah.
Does he say Caribbean or Caribbean?
Caribbean.
This is probably a Mandela effect right now.
We're gonna have to rewatch it right now, mid-recording.
Again, when I saw it not even that long ago. Dang! Hold on, yeah. No, I don't care. It's just different ways to pronounce it. It's not a big deal. But I would like to know.
You're gonna do a little insert. You're like, all right, everybody, just checking in, let y'all know.
Post edit.
It is Caribbean or Caribbean.
I think I could look up that scene real quick, but
I mean, you're the one editing this, so you can always cut this part out if you want. It
No.
depends on how dedicated you are to the Pirates episode
Fully to the pirate's life. Fully
for you.
dedicated to plundering and scallywagging, all that. But we should get this started, right?
Yep.
Let's start with. Let's take this in order.
Let's start with how I got you to watch these movies in the first
because
place.
I haven't seen any of these in theaters.
Yeah. So, for those who don't know, there is a video game out there called Sea of Thieves. It's a gorgeous game where you play as a pirate. And that's really all there is to it because it doesn't make things easy for you. You have to sail. So you use a compass and you have to chart the sea waters and storms and waves and all of that. But it's incredibly fun. You dig up treasure, you fight skeletons, and the game just feels like a huge love letter to the movies of Pirates of the Caribbean. And so when we were playing this, Tony and I told him, I was like, Tony, if you like this game, you're going to love Pirates of the Caribbean. And we saw the first episode, Disney Plus, group watch.
Episode or movie?
I'm sorry, movie. We saw the first movie. I'm still on the
It's
podcast.
actually interesting that you call it that because I feel
state
like
of mind.
after watching these movies back again, they're really, really dense, and they could be shows.
Yeah, I think
each
that's
movie
also
could
like
be
that.
its own mini series.
It's also kind of like a Star Wars effect. You know how that's like, oh, episode 4, episode 5. So these movies are, they're dense. A lot happens in each movie. Except for kind of like the fourth one. The fourth one's kind of, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, so Tony, sit down. We group watched on Disney Plus, and we saw the first one.
Also, just real quick, I did find a scene where he says either Caribbean or Caribbean.
Oh my goodness!
Could I hear it real quick and then inform the listeners on how he says it?
Yes, go ahead.
Right, and then this will finally set me straight on how he says it.
Who knows? It could set me straight.
So this is when Elizabeth is accusing him of how he escaped when all he really did was drink rum and lie on the beach. All right, let's hear it.
That's the first movie.
Yep. He says, "Welcome to the Caribbean, love."
To the Caribbean?
To the Caribbean, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait. Oh, I thought you had... Hold on.
So
Let me hear that one more time. Because he does say, "Welcome to the Caribbean, love." If you go to 1 hour and 36 minutes.
You want me to go to it?
He says it, Caroline. "Welcome to the Caribbean, love."
Okay.
Captain Jack Sparrow said, "Welcome to the Caribbean."
For the remainder of this episode, if you tune in and you skipped over this part, the reason we're calling it Caribbean is because we're following Captain Jack Sparrow.
Don't worry, Caroline. Just say Caribbean once, and I'll edit it over all the other times you said Caribbean, and make sure you got it right.
Thank you. Caribbean. It's gonna sound all Pirates of the Caribbean. Caribbean. I'm pretty sure. Listen, you'll catch it when I say it more throughout the episode.
It's fine. We're gonna say however it naturally comes out. It's fine. Anyways, let's jump back to it because we got a lot of movies to cover.
We do.
Right.
5
Okay,
movies.
so we're watching the first Pirates, right? The Curse of the Black Pearl. And
Correct.
how did we watch it? Was this already group watch? Like how did we do this?
This was group watched.
Okay.
This was a group watch effect. I think we had the whole gang with us too when we saw the first one.
Okay. Well, do you want to explain the plot? Because I feel like you could do that better. Or do you want me to jump into how I felt about this first pirate's life experience?
I feel like we follow our usual episodic format. I'll give the plot, and then you can. Let me open up my document. Here we go.
Oh, this is professional.
I have my homework done. If you're to check the Google Doc, it's like 10 pages.
I winged it. Wait, you got 10 pages of Google Docs?
I do.
Really?
The Pirates. Yeah.
All right. Go
I
ahead.
ain't messing around. Okay. Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. It premiered in 2003. The plot itself is first about these two young people named Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann. And Elizabeth is the governor's daughter. She's kind of like the rich girl. And she's on a boat with her dad when they find a young boy floating in the ocean and they rescue him. And so she takes care of him. He tells her his name is Will, and she notices he has this golden medallion. Well, she takes it because she doesn't want the other, like the adults, to think he's a pirate and possibly put him in the brig or question him or things like that. So she hides it. Now, later on in the movie, well, not later on, but afterwards, there's like a time skip, and it flashes forward to where now Will and Elizabeth are adults, and Will is a blacksmith's apprentice, and Elizabeth is still daughter of the governor. And then we get introduced to our beloved Captain Jack Sparrow, who has arrived at Port Royal on a sunken little sloop dinghy thingy. And so our three intrepid protagonists are now in the same location. And okay, it's like
it's a lot. We can stop right there because this is very multi-layered.
It's a lot because going on. There's also like Will and Elizabeth clearly have feelings for each other, but their classes don't allow them to like be in love. And then what's really weird too is the Commodore Norrington. Yeah. So in the beginning of the movie, she's like a little girl, like little. She's even a different actress. And she's a little girl, and Norrington is the same actor.
Wait, I didn't think about that.
He's the same actor. It's Jack Davenport. At the beginning of the movie, he's a lieutenant. He's not a commodore, but he's a lieutenant, and he's the one telling her dad, like, these are dangerous waters, and there's pirates about these seas. The movie flashes forward, and Elizabeth is an adult now. She's Keira Knightley in her Keira Knightley beauty, and he's this like. So he was the same. He was a man. He was a man at the beginning, and then it flashes forward to where now she's an adult, and her dad is like, "Oh, Norrington, he favors you. He fancies you quite a bit. I think he's been meaning to propose." And I'm like, "You knew her as a baby. Like you knew her as a child. Am I the only one that thinks this is weird?"
I never caught that. I didn't see him on the ship.
Yeah,
I didn't even consider that.
He's the one that, like, because Gibbs is on the ship too at the beginning, and he's the one that tells her like to stop singing that yo ho, yo ho.
Yeah, gonna check
a pirate's life for me, and he's like, it's bad luck to bring a woman aboard. Like,
yeah, they repeat that throughout the movie.
Yeah, but Norrington is the one that tells him like, oh, don't scare her, don't scare the governor's daughter. It's him. That's Norrington.
Wait, so how old do you think the movie wants us to think that he is? At this time,
we're gonna jump around a bit, everybody, and I'm sorry about that, but
just the elbow nudge way.
Yeah, in the second film, he looks their age, because he's kind of raggedy. He's gone to like being just a sailor, in the second film. Yeah. When he's fighting Will and Jack for the heart, he looks their age. But
you don't think he looks their age when it's Keira Knightley and Will Turner? Well, why did I say Will Turner? Keira Knightley and Orlando Bloom? You don't think he looks their age?
I don't think he definitely looks older when he's wearing the powdered wig and like all the fixins of a soldier. But in the second movie, when it's just him in like sailor's attire, he looks younger.
I felt like they were about the same age once they grew up. But it's so funny. I didn't catch that it was just the same actor.
In the beginning,
probably like 10 years ago. I don't know. How long
I was like, jumped ahead. Dermatologists hate him. Find out his secrets to stay young.
You think he found the fountain of youth before everyone else? Oh. Maybe he did.
So yeah, the movie starts off with this kind of hinted love story at Will and Elizabeth, and then in the mix, there's Jack Sparrow, just Captain Jack Sparrow, just bursting his way. He wants to steal the Dauntless, and that is supposedly the fastest ship in the Queen's Navy. And it's because we find out via backstory that he was the captain of the Black Pearl, the fastest ship in the sea. But a mutiny happened thanks to his first mate, Barbossa, who is the like best dressed pirate ever. And a mutiny happened. They tossed Jack onto an island with only a pistol and
That I
one
never learned the
bullet.
name of, actually. Do they ever name it? I don't think they ever call it by name.
I don't think they do. They just say like, "Oh, you see that, Jack? That's your island."
Yeah, that's your island. I
Yeah, and
left you at
he's
before.
like, "Ugh."
I was
He's
trying to
like,
find it, but they never
"Yeah,
did.
I wrote down anytime they mentioned a name of a place, I wrote it down. We have like Port Royal, Tortuga, and the Isla de Muerta. But yeah, they never gave Jack's island a name.
I think that's on purpose to make it sound more,
Remote and random
yeah, just uncharted and hard to
in the middle
find,
of nowhere.
even though it was found. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So Jack is over here trying to get a ship because he wants to go get his ship back. And then in the middle of all of it, that medallion that Elizabeth found on Will that she has now kept, it's actually a piece of Aztec gold. And there's 820 pieces of them. And
cursed Aztec gold.
they're cursed Aztec gold, exactly. And so when they mutinied Jack, the Pearl crew, they went and they dug up this treasure of Aztec gold. And they realized that it was cursed, where now they can no longer die. But the curse is not just that they can no longer die, it's that they don't feel
Yeah, because that sounds
alive.
like a gift right now. You can
Yeah.
no longer die, but
Oh, it's like, oh, you can't die, but they don't feel alive. They feel like food and drink have no taste or value to them,
mhm.
and not even like the warmth of touching a person, like nothing, they don't feel alive anymore. And what's interesting is that in the what's it called, in the behind the scenes for costume and design, they talked about how all of the pirates that were cursed, including Barbossa, they wore these special contact lenses so that
I
even
noticed it.
yeah, the glint of their eye wasn't there anymore, the glimmer. So
It's
it
very obvious on Barboza
yeah.
because it's yellow. It has a yellow tint, and yeah, whenever they zoom in, I look for it because I think that's got to be contacts.
Yeah,
And you
so
see it sometimes. It's cool.
it's really neat. I think the yellow tint was more about being dirty and just
Yeah, more like
part
a
of, like,
piratey thing instead
part of
of
the
a
whole
dead.
look. But
Yeah.
taking out the glint was really interesting. It blurred the eye. It was really cool. And it's something that I wouldn't have taken into account, but that just shows how much production was put into this movie, production thought. And that's something I really want to fan out about, specifically for the first movie, because watching the behind the scenes was so fascinating. But before I do that, I want to get into the plot still. So Barbossa and the Pearl crew are cursed to no longer feel alive. And we get into all of these pirates movies have such crazy and intricate plot lines, because and then it's never just one straight story. There's always two or three plots like happening concurrently.
And I would
So,
say this first one is the most straightforward.
yeah, the
It
first
gets
one,
wild
it
to
gets
2 and
so
3.
when I was doing my review, like, and I was writing down notes, I was like, I'm gonna have to make separate columns. Like, okay, on one end we have this plot, on one end we have this plot. It's just crazy. And so in the first one, um, what was it? Oh, the Pearl crew, because like there's a scene where Elizabeth is being proposed to by Norrington and she falls into the water and she's wearing that medallion, that piece of Aztec gold. And when it touches the water, it kind of alerts the crew of the Pearl where
Yep,
she
once it's in
is.
the sea, is it just calls to them pretty much. They know exactly where to go.
Exactly. So in the middle of the night, Jack, meanwhile, because he rescued Elizabeth from falling into the ocean. So Jack, however, he gets like arrested for being a pirate. And then Will is kind of just home sad because the love of his life just got proposed to by this rich Commodore, even though he's probably a lot older than her. But yeah, so in the
The
middle of
man
the
doesn't
night,
age.
he doesn't age. Dermatologists hate him. In the middle of the night, the Pearl crew comes and kidnaps her. So now we have Will breaking out Jack because Jack knows where they're going and ergo where they're taking Elizabeth. So Will breaks him out. They steal the Dauntless and they track down Elizabeth. And then in the meantime, because they're tracking down Elizabeth, the governor and Norrington are following them. They're like, okay, well, we're going to go take them in and rescue Elizabeth from them. And then, what is it? They have to commandeer a crew. So they go to Tortuga. That's what it is. Jack and Will go to Tortuga and they meet Gibbs. And Gibbs is Jack's first mate who did not agree to the mutiny. He left.
Yeah, how did this happen? Because Gibbs was sailing with the Royal Navy, and then later we find him on Tortuga, just a pirate sleeping on pigs.
Yeah, I assume that he was a sailor, but thought it better to be a pirate. And what was it? Because
that wasn't ever explained, right?
No, his backstory never really is explained. He is in Jack's flashback, right? In the last movie when they talk about a young Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
So he must have known Jack from a young age. So, and being that it looks like Jack is only a little bit older than Will and Elizabeth, that maybe when Jack started being a pirate of his own, like a captain, Gibbs left the Navy and joined pirating? Well, no, because he's already a pirate in the flashback.
It's weird.
It's weird, but yeah. He was a Royal Navy sailor, but now he's Jack's first mate, and he didn't agree with the mutiny, so he's not cursed. But he is kind of Jack's go-to guy. Like, Gibbs is he's like the most loyal friend Jack has. He's never betrayed him or anything. It's like, props to you, Gibbs. You're the Samwise Gamgee of the story.
I want to get into the curse a little bit because I don't know if you explained it, but just to simplify it, yeah, this Aztec gold that they stole, they were like going around, spending money on things, going to different islands, and once they found out it was cursed, they had to go and track it all down and take it back, and they need every last coin to remove the curse. But every single pirate who was using the gold to buy things, they were cursed.
Yeah.
And what I didn't notice until the most recent rewatch that I did was the monkey. He stays cursed. He stays immortally dead. And you remember in the second Pirates, he meets what's her name? What's the fortune teller's name?
Tia Dalma.
Tia Dalma, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's like, I'll trade you this immortal monkey, and he shoots him. So Jack Sparrow shoots him to show that he's still immortal. And I was thinking, wait, why is he still cursed? It makes no sense. But that end credit scene in this first movie shows that he steals one coin. You remember that?
Yep. He like goes back and picks up a coin.
Yeah, and I don't know where he keeps it, but since it's not in that chest anymore, he's cursed.
Yep.
And
we named the monkey Jack.
Thank you, Jack. You're welcome. No, we named the monkey Jack.
I love Barbossa so much. Like, just rewatching these movies, I was like, man, he's so cool. He is so cool. And even though he's like the villain of this movie, he is the coolest villain of any movie. And it's so hard to not to dislike Barbossa because he's just so like, he even honors the parlay whenever they say like parlay. And then he's like
a guideline. He doesn't necessarily honor.
They're more like guidelines anyway. Yeah. But he's so cool as a villain, and he is like the main villain of this movie, which is weird because I'm so used to seeing Barbossa in the other 4 films, and he's not really the main villain.
Yeah, being cool guy Barbossa.
He's always cool guy Barbossa, but he's not the villain in the 4 movies. This is the movie where he is the villain, and even then, it's hard to be a villain in a pirate movie because the pirates are pirates, obviously.
Yeah, pirates are going to be pirates. Even in the other 4 movies, he's he's backstabbing, whatever you want to call it. He's looking out for himself. People are
so is everybody.
Each other. Yeah, every pirate. It's a pirate's life.
What's crazy is like we'll get into this a little more later, but Will and Elizabeth start off so straight-laced in this movie, but in all the movies after this, they do the same thing. Like it's all about like double crossing and tricking people to get your own agenda across.
Oh, I think Elizabeth already starts in this
Oh,
movie.
that's true. That's true. I hadn't
Yeah.
thought about Elizabeth
What
with
scene are you thinking about?
yeah,
Wait, wait.
the rum. The rum's gone.
Oh,
What'd you
that's the
do?
one you went to? I was thinking of a different one.
Oh.
When she tells Commodore Norrington that she will accept his hand or, say yes.
Oh.
That's such a pirate move.
That is. I hadn't even thought about it like that, but look at you.
Yeah,
That
I'm like,
is such a
what? That's
pirate move.
something Captain Jack will do. Are you kidding me? But
Um,
hey, she's been hanging out with them long enough.
as a wedding gift, Elizabeth, does this mean you accept the Commodore's proposal? Like, not even like,
Yeah.
I will marry you. It's like, quick, can you rescue my my friends?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so just to explain that scene a little bit for the listeners, it's right after that island scene where she burns all the rum and she makes like a smoke signal.
I think we're getting a little bit ahead of the plot, though.
Yeah, we're way past it. We're jumping around. This is a jumping around point.
I jump around.
Yeah, the
I jump
smoke
around.
signal, and yeah, so that Captain Jack Sparrow and Elizabeth could be saved. So they're brought onto the Dauntless, right? Uh,
Yes.
and yeah, she's asking because her dad is there and her husband to be, quote unquote, is there. She's asking them, we gotta go and look for Will because Will's out there. He needs help, and they say, he's out of luck. Sorry, he's probably already dead. We're turning around, and she says, well, I'll marry you. I'll marry you, and as a wedding gift, let's go save him. And then that that got him. That got Commodore Norrington. Like, all right, we'll go help him out. But then she completely,
It's kind of crazy to think that hey, as a wedding gift to me, can you go and save this guy that
yeah.
I have like you can tell there's chemistry between us. Like it's so weird. But yeah, that's definitely a pirate move. I hadn't thought of it like that. That's definitely a pirate move.
Is so clearly a pirate move.
Elizabeth definitely like just falls in line with the pirate's life. Will is a little more like, I'm not a pirate. I'm not.
And
Like
then
all
for Will, Captain Jack Sparrow also calls him out on that when they're taking the rowboat into La Isla de Muerta.
Mhm.
And that's when he calls him out. He's like, "Oh, well, you've been doing a lot of pirating lately for someone who doesn't call himself a pirate." And he says you've commodored a ship with a pirate, you've sailed under the command of a pirate, and you're focused on gold. And that's the scene where he was just like looking at all the gold in the water
Mhm.
on the island. I'm like, I mean, it's a technicality, but yeah, he did some pirating himself.
And when they talk about his dad, or he's like, you're Bootstrap Bill's son. And he's like, my father was a sailor. He was a good man. And he's like, your father was a pirate through and through. And the blood of a
Yeah.
pirate runs through your veins. It's like, you're a
Yep.
pirate. Ye
I
be
love it.
pirates. It's so cool. So when we get on this intrepid journey, you have Will and Jack now rushing to save Elizabeth. They find out, so Barbosa takes her to the Isla de Muerta, and they try to cut her hand and have her drop that last gold piece of Aztec gold, and the curse is not broken. And the key to that is because when the original mutiny happened, the only one who objected to it at the time was Bootstrap Bill, who is Will Turner's dad. And Bootstrap Bill said, you know what? This is wrong. We shouldn't do this. We shouldn't overthrow our captain, and we shouldn't take all this gold for ourselves. So, and this is explained via a really cool backstory where it's like, so he took him by bootstraps, and strapped
Yeah.
him to a cannon and launched him into the sea, where he sunk down to Davy Jones' locker. So Bootstrap Bill is, quote, dead,
Dead.
unquote. And the only way to break the curse is that one of the pieces of blood, like of gold, has to come into contact with the blood of Bootstrap Bill Turner. But since
Now, do you
Bootstrap
know
Bill is
why that
dead,
is?
why it has to touch the blood of a Turner?
Yeah.
Because blood was shed, right? They killed him.
So they have to get his blood to undo the curse?
So they shed his blood at the beginning of the curse, and you have to shed the blood to end the curse, kind of thing.
Okay. And it had to be him specifically.
Yeah, because he was the one that objected at the beginning of the curse.
And they don't
Films.
get into how that happened with Gibbs or whatever. But was Bootstrap Bill cursed or no?
No. He didn't
Because
really
he
see.
did. He took a coin and he gave it to his son. He sent it to his
That's
son.
that's true. But I mean, like, Will wasn't cursed.
I
And
know. That's what
then,
I'm thinking.
Bootstrap Bill did die. He didn't not die,
Did he?
which is what everybody else did. He didn't turn into a skelly. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, how did that curse work? Because he didn't become immortally dead, but he did take a cursed Aztec gold coin and sent it to his son. And it's not in that chest. Like they're looking for that gold coin that Will has or
I
had.
just assumed that the curse went into effect when they used the gold. And Bootstrap Bill never used the gold. He objected to using it at the beginning.
And using would just mean
Like,
paying
yeah,
somebody for
paying
whatever, rum
exactly. Yeah.
or a ship or whatever
Using it in
affects.
commerce.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they need Bootstrap Bill's blood. And Elizabeth tells Barbossa that she is Bootstrap Bill's daughter because she doesn't want Will to be in danger. But then Will is on the way to rescue Elizabeth, so she's not in danger. And Jack wants revenge on the crew and Captain Barbossa that mutinied him.
There's a lot going on here.
Oh, yeah. So they get to the Isla de Muerta, and it's like this whole roundabout way, but they're able to rescue Elizabeth. But then on the Pearl, Barbossa takes Jack and Elizabeth and he strands them on the island where he stranded Jack in the first place from the first mutiny. And then they take Will back to Isla de Muerta so they could cut him and free the curse. And then Jack and Elizabeth, they spend like a good night on the island. Elizabeth burns all the rum and she puts up a smoke cloud, and that's how they're seen by Norrington, her boo, her fiance,
Her 2B
and yeah,
husband.
her 2B, and they're about to just like lock up Jack and take Elizabeth home, but she tells him like, if you marry, like, I'll marry you if we go and rescue Will. So they go, and then Jack is telling them like, hey, before we go in, I need you all to stay out here because like, you're gonna like, there's all like, think about it, you're gonna capture the pearl. Like if we go, you're gonna be the Commodore that captures the pearl, and the pearl is like the pirate ship in the Caribbean. So they go, and yet Norrington doesn't listen to him. He takes a little dinghy out, and they're like, why aren't we listening to him? And it's like, because it's a pirate. Why would we take the advice of a pirate? Inside this Isla de Muerta now, we have all of our three
Yeah,
protagonists
they're like in a big
finally.
cave.
Yeah, huge cave. All of our three protagonists are in this cave, along with Barbossa and the crew of the Pearl. Then Jack starts appealing to the inner pirate of Barbossa and tells him, hey, listen, the Dauntless is out there, the fastest ship in the Queen's Navy. Before you break the curse with the blood of Will Turner, you should go out there and take the ship as your own. And that will be the second ship now in your own fleet. And you won't be Captain Barbossa, you'll be Commodore Barbossa. And Barbossa's kind of like, I like the sound of that. And he goes, lads, take a walk. And we get this really cool scene where all these undead skeleton pirates are walking at the bottom of the sea
floor.
Yeah. And it's like, whoa. It feels like it's part of a 4D ride at a like an arcade or something. Like you're sitting there and you see the skeleton in your face. You're like, whoa.
Yep.
It's so cool. So yeah, all of these Navy men are fighting these undead pirates that can't be killed. And then on the meantime, in the cave of Isla de Muerta, there's this cool, awesome sword duel going on between Will and insert first mate here, and then Jack and Barbossa. And Jack and Barbossa are going at it. And then later on, Barbossa stabs Jack, and Jack steps into the moonlight, and Jack is a skeleton. Thinking of Nightmare Before Christmas. He's a skeleton. But because it's revealed that Jack stole a piece of the gold coin, and by taking it into his possession, he took on the curse as well, so he would not die while fighting Barbossa. And then, what is it? When after that, when
now Captain Jack Sparrow didn't spend this coin.
I was just thinking that right now when I said that. How does this curse
And the
work?
monkey didn't spend the coin either.
Maybe
He
it's just
still got
those who.
cursed.
Maybe it's just those who took it, who take it, those who took the coins.
I think so too. Yeah, I
Something.
think if you just take it and if it's away from the chest, you're cursed. So that's why I was
Yeah.
wondering how did Bootstrap not get cursed. But
Maybe
he
he
wasn't
did.
holding on to it, so he's not cursed. But then
He
Will
just.
was holding on to it, and
It's the last piece.
it could technically still be, they could be cursed and we just never know. Because, oh no, because in the daylight, right? Or in the moonlight, you find
In the
out that
moonlight.
I'm trying to work this out for them, but I don't know.
You know, maybe this is just pirates. Pirates.
Aye.
So yeah, there's this exchange where Barbossa stabs Jack. Jack reveals to be cursed, takes the sword out of himself, and then he shoots Barbossa. And Barbossa's like, now why would you waste your last shot? But then the camera pans, and Will had dropped a piece, the gold piece, into the chest, effectively breaking the curse. So Barbossa is like, I feel cold. And he dies. And the curse is lifted. So then the Navy is able to overpower the pirates, and all the pirates are arrested. And then the movie takes us back to Port Royal, where now that they're the Navy. So they arrested all the pirates at this area, and Jack is to be hanged for, oh no, that's what it is. Because when they went to go sail to Isla de Muerta, Jack told Gibbs and this new crew of the Pearl that what was it, like, it's pirates code. Any pirate left behind, like any pirate that falls behind gets left behind. So Elizabeth, when they go and they're about to rescue Will, Elizabeth tells like the Pearl crew, the new Pearl crew, like, hey, shouldn't we go rescue Jack? And they're like, no, you know, that's pirate code. And so she goes
he
in
owes
alone.
us this ship. We're done.
We're done. So like it's pirate code. And so she goes in alone, and we don't see this new crew of the Pearl that they recruited from Tortuga. And then it's afterwards when all of these Barbossa's pirates, and Barbossa himself is dead, and Jack, they get arrested by Norrington. So the end of the film is a scene where Jack is to be hanged for piracy, and Will comes in wearing, I always say Barbossa has the best drip, but Will's outfit at the end of the first movie is so stinking cool. He looks like a William Penn guy. He's got the bay hat with a huge feather. I'm like, where was this outfit in the rest of the films? This is so cool.
Yeah, that's his low-key I'm in disguise outfit.
That is not his disguise outfit. That is, I just came from a cave of gold, and I'm letting you all know that. Like, that's that look.
I mean,
and
I'm saying that's what he used to be low-key, hiding
he
amongst the
walks around,
crowd.
huge hat, huge feather. He
Yeah.
walks up to Elizabeth, and he's with Elizabeth with her fiance, and he's like, Elizabeth, I love you. And then he turns around and he starts going to rescue Jack, and he throws the sword. He breaks Jack out of the gallows, and they run for the shore. And then they're intercepted by Norrington, and that's like where our intrepid protagonists get together again, where it's like Jack and Will are surrounded by these men, but then Elizabeth gets in the middle, and she's like, you won't harm them because I love Will too. And so then Governor Swann, he's like, since that's her dad, he pardons Will for like breaking out Jack Sparrow, and he gives his blessing for Elizabeth to marry Will. And then in that whole heartwarming moment, Jack just like dives into the sea, and he goes by, and it turns out Gibbs and the rest of the new Pearl crew sailed back to get him. So he climbs aboard the ship, and he's now back on the Black Pearl, and he's the captain.
Am I crazy,
again.
or did they change the sails on the Black Pearl?
Like from black to white?
I didn't see black sails, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see black sails either, but I'm gonna...
But that was a Black Pearl, right?
That was the Black Pearl.
Else.
Yeah, that's the Black Pearl. And what was it? So he sails off into the horizon, and Norrington just comments that he's giving Jack a 1 day's head start before he sails after him to bring him back in. And that's where the first film ends. It's like dun 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 dun
And then the
dun
monkey
dun dun.
stealing the coin, and then credits.
Yeah, the monkey steals the coin. So the monkey
Yeah,
is still alive. Like,
cursed because he
yeah.
spent it on rum, or he
Now,
stole it from the chest.
can I get into the production of this movie? Or wait. Actually, before we do that, Tony, your thoughts after I showed you this film, please.
And thank you. It was. There's a lot. There's a lot that are a lot of scenes that are just iconic now, and lines that are quoted, and I have to go back to them. I have to go back to some of them.
Please do.
First of all, what I love about this movie, before any of the quotes or anything, is I love how everything is taking time to be fully explained. I love how there's like a lore and a history to pirates and pirating. I love the Black Pearl. I love the Black Sails. I love how people see it as such a dangerous ship on the sea. And then I love the history behind it. And you remember when the two like royal guards or whatever you want to call them were stopping Captain Jack from commandeering the
The
either one of
Dauntless.
them. He was either going after the Dauntless or the Interceptor. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, the Interceptor, that's the fastest ship in the sea." And that's when Captain Jack mentions, "Oh, well, not faster than the Black Pearl." And then they're both a little skeptical, and I think one of them eventually says like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of the Black Pearl." And then I think the other guy, I don't know if you remember, but it's like, "Oh, you think is real? You think the Black Pearl is real? The ship that crewed that had a damned crew, and the captain was so evil that even hell itself spit it back, like something like
Yeah.
that." Like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I love that. I love that." And then you find out that it was Captain Jack Sparrow who was the captain, and then we find out in the second one that apparently he only captained it for 2 years, and then the mutiny happened and Barboza took
Yeah.
over. But I just love that. I love the. Is it fair to call it like? Oh, never mind. I was gonna say fairy tale is a tall tale.
It's a tall
Yeah, I
tale.
love the tall tales in these movies, in all of these movies. And then of course I want to bring up the all the. You're the worst pirate I ever heard of.
But you have heard of me.
But you have heard of me. And then how's it go?
You have got to be the worst pirate. No, it's like he's like a gun with one bullet, and you've got to be the worst pirate I've ever seen. And then cut
Yeah.
to him and Will stealing with the interceptor,
Yeah, that
and
was so smart. I love that. They're going for the.
it looks like they were stealing the Dauntless.
Yeah, they were on the Dauntless. They were getting it prepped to go sail, and then the Royal Navy sees them. They're like, "Nope, we could catch up to them. Let's go get them." Then they sail on over, jump. Everybody jumps aboard the Dauntless, and then they're secretly jumping onto their interceptor that's way faster, and then they just get away.
Yeah,
They're like, "Dang it, they can't catch up to them."
that's got to be the best pirate I've ever seen.
So it would seem, or I don't know what he said.
Yeah.
That's gotta be the best pirate I've ever seen. I love that.
It's so cool.
But also before that, remember when he goes, You'll always remember this day as a day you almost captured Captain Jack Sparrow."
All of his little Jack Sparrow isms is so good.
Yeah. So, just in general, yeah, because you recommended this movie to me is because of my love of Sea of Thieves and how
Sea
much
of
we were
Thieves.
liking playing the game, and how watching the whole five Pirates movies, Sea of Thieves is just straight up like Pirates of the Caribbean simulator. Like there's
Yeah.
so much that they take from these movies, and it's awesome.
Have you even noticed like the loading screen to go into Sea of Thieves sounds like the intro to the
A
Black
little
Pearl
bit,
like theme
yeah.
song? It's like ba-dum 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 ba-dum
Yeah,
ba-dum
yeah.
ba-dum ba-da-dum ba-ba-da-dum ba-ba-da-dum
I
ba-ba-da-dum.
was
Like
noticing
it's
like even just the barrel like was this part 1 or part 2? Let me think. I think it's part 1 where they're trying to outsail the Black Pearl. I think Barboza's after. Wait, am I remembering that right?
That's like every movie trying to outsail
Whatever,
the
they're trying to
Black Pearl.
outsail a ship, and they're like, "Oh, we got to get rid of weight," and they're dropping barrels into the water. I feel like they even take inspiration from that. There's even scenes in
I
in
think that's
the
the second
franchise
movie.
where so it was a Flying Dutchman then that they're trying to.
Yeah, they're trying to out because the Dutchman is the fastest, and they were trying to out. They were trying to outsail the Dutchman, and so they were tossing things overboard.
Are you sure? Because I thought it was Zoe Saldana already, like at the helm for this
Oh,
scene, and
okay.
she was only in the first one.
Maybe it is the first one then. If you remember Zoe Saldana, then yeah, she's only in the first one.
Well, regardless, the point is that when they're trying to lose weight, they're trying to get rid of weight, and then they're dropping barrels. I feel like Sea of Thieves took that. You know, you can see random barrels in the sea, and then there's even scenes where just a swarm of birds are flying over something in the water. Sea of Thieves does that, and then there's so many areas that they took from even Shipwreck Bay in the game. There's a
Yeah.
Shipwreck Cove, I think,
Yep.
in
In
part
the
3,
Yep.
but
But the look of Shipwreck Cove in the movie looks like, was it Galleon's grave in
yeah,
Sea of Thieves? Like, it is a complete recreation of that island, is Galleon's grave in Sea of Thieves.
not as many
Yeah, not as many,
wrecked
but
galleons,
one.
but yeah, that's the idea. Is the
Yeah,
idea. It's so
it's
good.
that game is just a love letter to Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah. But yeah, I love the movie. I love that the movie takes its time describing all the tall tales and the history of pirates and stuff. I love that
Lore.
everything sounds like a legend, like I love the legend of the Black Pearl. I love hearing Davy Jones' locker, things like that. And then eventually we start seeing those things in the movies.
Anytime that something is hinted about in one movie, it's almost guaranteed you're gonna see it later on down the franchise. And it's
Yeah.
like, he was taken down to Davy Jones' locker, and then it's like in the second movie, who shows up but Davy Jones.
Oh, even before I forget, even in the very beginning of the movie, you hear Elizabeth singing the yo
Yo
ho
ho,
yo ho.
yo ho, a
Yeah.
pirate's life for
And that's straight
me.
from the Disney ride, of course, because this is what
Yep,
this movie's based on.
yep. It's so hard to believe that this movie is based on a ride. So that does get me into the um production side of this. I've been waiting
Okay.
all week for this. So,
Okay. Let's hear
first
it.
of all, this movie had there was a lot of pushback from the beginning, like already from the pre-planning in this. Disney had already scheduled that they wanted to do movies based on rides. I don't know if you remember the movie Country Bears, or like you don't have to have seen it, but are you
I
aware of the
remember it, but yeah, I
yeah.
didn't see it.
So they already had movies planned based off of rides from Disney World slash Disneyland. But when it came to how serious they wanted to take this movie, Disney executives had really low interest in a pirate film because throughout film history, pirate movies, there was like a pirate boom in like the 60s, and there was all these movies about like Blackbeard and just like there was a huge amount of pirate films. However, they stopped being made because first of all, the public grew tired of it. There was an oversaturation, and second, because they were really expensive to make. You have to include a lot of
Yeah.
water and boats, and just thinking about it, it's a very expensive production. So, when it came to making a movie based off of the ride Pirates of the Caribbean, there was the option of having this movie be just a direct to DVD film and just be like this
Ooh.
low budget kind of movie. However, then they brought on Jerry Bruckheimer. And Jerry Bruckheimer, he is the head of Bruckheimer Productions, and he does not make little movies. This is the guy who did Top Gun, Armageddon, Con Air, Pearl Harbor, Bad Boys, National
Oh, Bad
Treasure.
Boys.
Yeah, yeah. This guy, he don't make small movies. Jerry Bruckheimer, and also he's the producer for all of these movies, which I know like Tony often says like, "Oh, that means he just wrote a check." No, Bruckheimer is a very hands-on producer. And he is kind of the guy. Like he's like the Kevin Feige of pirates. That's Jerry Bruckheimer because he's involved in all of them. and he has a special love for pirate movies. So, starting off with this, Disney CEO at the time, his name is Michael Eisner. He like Jerry Bruckheimer, he hired the screenwriters, and they wanted to make it to where this wasn't going to be a kids movie. They wanted to make it a serious and like be serious about this pirate movie, and he wanted it to be a supernatural curse story. He wanted to include tall tales, like he wanted to go so deep cut into pirates that this would be the film to define pirates. So then he presented the budget to the Disney CEO, Michael Eisner. There's a book called Disney War, which talks about like how Disney had to really like define itself in live action. Because for a while, Disney live action films were not exactly like the films to go see. When you think about movies that were coming out around the time of the 2000s, this is during the time of like The Matrix and Lord of the Rings. Like these are epics. And Disney just wasn't producing live action films of that caliber. So Jerry Bruckheimer comes up to him, Michael Eisner, and says, "Hey, listen, we're going to need like $150 million to make this film." And Michael Eisner did not want to do it. He was like, "Why does it have to cost this much?" And he tells him like, "Well, you see, this is how much these movies, like this is how much the blockbusters cost. This is how much the Lord of the Rings costs to make a film. This is how much the Matrix costs. So if you want a movie that's going to be taken as seriously as those, you're going to need to put in some dough to keep it afloat." Pun intended. And so Eisner agreed and said, "Okay, I'll give you I'll allocate $150 million for the budget of this film." And they went to work. This movie is not really the first one you would think of, but the crew considered it a period piece. So a lot of props and clothing had to be manufactured that was historically accurate to the setting that they wanted to take it to. They had to hire historians and seamstresses to make sure that everything was accurate, from how people dressed to how even the towns looked, transportation. They even hired a guy who was a historian that specialized in how British soldiers marched, loaded their guns, how they dressed, and what they what they wore and everything, how they acted. Like they had like a leather piece over their thumb so their thumb wouldn't burn when they loaded up a gun. And Jerry Bruckheimer was like, "Okay, we need that. Like make sure costume gets that." Like they went down to the letter, making sure everything was accurate. The buildings, they had to be made completely from scratch. So the setting, was it the technical director? He went and he scouted out this small town called St. Vincent that was on a pier. It was a very like they said the problem with finding a location to shoot was that any place that had like a nice beachfront and stuff was taken up by resorts and tourism. So they went to this small town called St. Vincent, and they basically had to build everything themselves. All the piers, some of the forts, like that had to be done in a film studio, but a lot of what you see outside on the sea, that's done in St. Vincent. And they had to fly everybody there, take them all out onto a boat. It was just like this whole, they went really into it when it came to the production side. The costume designer, the seamstress, she said that because she's like a professional distresser. So her job is not to just make clothes, but to make clothes dirty. So it looks like it's actually been worn and not like
Yeah.
all the extras had fresh clothes off the rack. So what she did was she had a cement mixer. She threw in some bricks, some cement powder, and the clothes into the cement mixer. And then she would take them out, like fling them off, and then give them to people to wear.
That's perfect.
It was just so like, wow. And then, this is all just getting the film actually ready. Then in 2002, the film Country Bears was a huge box office failure. And it was a movie that was based off of a ride for Disney. So then Eisner was like, shut it down. Shut it down, lads.
We're making a huge mistake.
We're making a huge mistake on this movie. Clearly, nobody wants to watch a movie based off of a Disney ride. So why am I spending like up to $150 million for this film? No way. So Jerry Bruckheimer comes in and is like, no. Listen to me. You need to come see what we're working on. So they flew him out to
We've
the
already
set.
ruined all these costumes. We can't return these.
We can't take them back. So he flies them out. He flies them out to set, and then when Michael Eisner stepped onto what would be shot as Tortuga, he was like, "Whoa, this is a pirate's place."
He felt the call of the sea.
He felt it. It calls him. So he was absolutely astonished by what they created and let them continue production. However, he did have some objections to the casting. So
With what? Who?
originally, the role of Jack Sparrow was written for Hugh Jackman, hence the name Jack Sparrow. They actually named the character after
What?
Hugh Jackman.
I wonder how that would have turned out.
I don't know. Especially because this was around the year that this movie came out. I think X2 came out as well. So that's also like
2003, so
it was around
yeah.
X2 era. So this was X-Men time. And they wanted to get Hugh Jackman for it. However, Hugh Jackman was not really known outside of Australia, and he was just coming in off of the X-Men movie, and Eisner wanted like a surefire like leading man. There were a couple of other people that he had in mind, but Bruckheimer said, "You know what? No, I'm going to bring in Johnny Depp." And Michael Eisner hated Johnny Depp's portrayal of Captain Jack Sparrow.
Really?
He said something like what was it? Because originally Bruckheimer, he had pitched the character of Jack Sparrow as a Burt Lancaster. Burt Lancaster was a actor a little bit before like the time that you and I were watching films, but he was a pretty popular actor who was known for just playing like a cocky hotshot, like just a hotshot pirate, flies by the seat of his pants kind of guy. But when Johnny Depp looked into the character of Jack Sparrow, he thought he was more of a like a rock star. So he actually based his character off of Keith Richards, who's the co-founder of the Rolling Stones alongside Mick Jagger. And when the director, his name is Gore Verbinski, the director, and Bruckheimer saw Johnny Depp's portrayal of Jack Sparrow, they thought, "Oh my goodness, this is a pirate." Like they loved it. But then Michael Eisner absolutely hated it. He claimed that like I think he said something like is he drunk? Is he gay? I don't get it. He's totally ruining the film. And even like so then Johnny Depp wanted to show, I guess, his devotion to the role of Jack Sparrow. So he even got his teeth capped with gold. And Bruckheimer, yeah, he did. And you'll know, I noticed it when I started looking at the movie again, and I would see Johnny Depp's teeth, Jack Sparrow's teeth, like he has gold teeth on the top and the bottom.
I see the gold teeth, but I thought that was part of the costuming.
That's him. He got his teeth capped with gold. And Bruckheimer was a little uncomfortable with how far Johnny Depp was going. But Verbinski, the director, was like, "No, I am not replacing him. I love this character. Like, you're not taking away Johnny Depp from me." And the director was all in. He was like, So then Johnny Depp, he said in an interview that he told the three of them, Bruckheimer, Verbinski, and Eisner, he said, "Look, these are choices I made. You know my work and you know what I do. So you either trust me or you give me the boot." And he said in an interview, like, luckily they did it. They kept me on.
Or you make me walk the plank. Come on, Johnny. You almost had it.
You almost had it, Johnny. He's Johnny Depp. And then it's funny because after the movie premiered, Jack Sparrow was like a household name. He was the breakout character. Roger Ebert, who is the legendary film critic, he's awesome, and he even said that he says the best performances that came out of this film are Johnny Depp and George Rush, who plays Barbossa. And he said specifically Johnny Depp because he says Johnny Depp's performance is original down to the atom. There's never been a pirate or human being or character like this in any other movie. And so that immediately like won over Bruckheimer and Eisner. They were like, "All right, this guy was onto something." And yeah, like even cut to like much later at on Stranger Tides, which is movie number 4, when they were getting ready to plan movie number 4 and Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley had rejected coming back, even Jerry Bruckheimer said, okay, if Johnny Depp doesn't agree to come back, we're just not going to make this movie because his character is what's needed, like in the
I
Pirates
wish I was a
movie.
conversation right now.
I know. We'll get into that. But yeah, like that's just how much of a core character Jack Sparrow became. And it's just so interesting on how much pushback there was for Johnny Depp to, first of all, to play this guy, because Johnny Depp wasn't a well-known actor. He was more known for like some cult classics, but he was not
Yeah,
the
I can't
front runner.
remember. I can't think of any movie he was in
That
before
was
Pirates that was this big.
especially not a blockbuster. Like I can't even think of a blockbuster he's been in now since Pirates. Like that was
What?
his.
He's been in
Um,
some. Wasn't he in Sweeney Todd? Well,
oh, okay,
but
okay. Wait, yeah, was he was Edward Scissorhands too, right?
he was Willy Wonka. Yeah, he was Edward
Willy
Scissorhands.
Wonka.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like these are not Pirates of the
No,
Caribbean.
but he was in recognizable roles. But before Pirates, I don't know what he was in.
Yeah, so it was a little hard to sell him as a leading man. And then, that also kind of goes into the character of Will Turner, because I'm going to read off some of these names for who they approached to get the role. And they, like, all these actors turned it down until they eventually got to Orlando Bloom.
Tom
Um,
Cruise.
Here we go. For Will Turner, the actors Tobey Maguire, Jude Law,
I approve.
Ewan McGregor,
I
Christian
approve.
Bale,
I
and
approve.
Heath Ledger were
I approve
approached
of
for the
all of them.
role. Yeah, Tom Hiddleston also auditioned for the role, but eventually, Jeffrey Rush, who plays Barbossa, he actually took the script to Orlando Bloom because they were both in a film called Ned Kelly, and Jeffrey Rush told Bloom, "Hey, you know what? I'm working on this Pirates movie. I think you would be interested in it." And now for Orlando Bloom, he was currently doing Lord of the Rings because um what was it? Return of the King premiered the same year Pirates started. So the last Lord of the Rings movie, the year lines up with the first movie of Pirates of the Caribbean. So Orlando Bloom is like, well, I'm just getting off of, like, I'm filming the last Lord of the Rings film. I should like start looking for another place to go. And when he auditioned, Gore Verbinski, the director, was like, "Oh yeah, oh yeah, you're in." You even like he said Verbinski even said that he had like he was, because he was gonna play the straight man. Will Turner was always supposed to be like the straight laced Boy Scout kind of guy.
Yeah.
And Orlando Bloom even had that look where it's like he can kind of be a pirate, but he can also look like a Boy Scout. And yeah. But yeah, for Orlando Bloom, this was going to be his second blockbuster trilogy. He was just going to jump from one onto another.
I could see all these other actors in that role as well. Heath Ledger was one of them, you said?
Heath Ledger,
I could see Heath Ledger
Heath
easily.
Le- if Heath Ledger, all the love and respect to Orlando Bloom, but if Heath Ledger would have gotten this role, I might have a different favorite character because Heath Ledger is very handsome. Mm-mm-mm. But yeah,
And who else was in it?
so
Who else was in
Kieran,
the list of in the list of auditioning for this role or that they wanted?
that was it, really. Uh,
Well, just to remind me, because I know you said Toby, you
oh,
said
Tobey Maguire, Jude Law,
Ewan
Ewan Mc,
Law. Okay.
yeah, Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan,
Yeah. And Ewan
Chris,
McGregor.
Christian Bale. I don't know about
Christian
that
Bale,
one.
I can see. I can see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
eh. I don't see pirate. Christian Bale is so like clean cut. I keep thinking about him like in Inception, or no, yeah, it's Inception, right?
No.
No, what's that movie he
That's
did
a
with
Leonardo
Leo?
DiCaprio.
What's the movie he did with Leo?
Christian Bale
Yeah,
with I'm not sure. I just know he's a good actor. Are you looking it up?
I am. Huh? There's that meme. Maybe it's just a meme,
Is
and I
is
confused
probably
it for
just
being a real movie.
you're judging him solely based on a false memory of never seeing him.
This is that Mandela effect we always talk
Wow.
about.
So this is a picture, a meme that you saw, and you're like, I don't think he can act as a pirate.
It's a pic. I thought no. I thought he was Inception because there's a meme that puts the two, him and Leo together. but he's just known for playing like the clean cut guy.
Wait,
He
wait,
was
wait.
in.
And then wait, is this a video or a picture?
It's a picture.
And from this picture, you're judging that he can't play
No, 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 no,
a
no. I am.
pirate?
It's not from this picture. It's that I thought he was in Inception, but
And
that's
because you thought he was
still
in this movie, you thought he couldn't play a pirate?
no. It's that he takes on roles where he's very clean cut. He was Bruce Wayne. He was
He
like
was in Inception.
he was in American Psycho. Like he's been in movies where I don't know if he could get dirty for a pirate.
He's a professional. I'm sure he'll do whatever he has to do for the role.
I'm just saying, I don't see it. I don't see.
I don't see it. He didn't perform all that well in Inception, right?
I don't see it.
Caroline, I'm a little surprised that you think you just made up a whole movie like role for
It's a
him.
meme.
Wow.
But that doesn't change my opinion that he could. I don't think he could do it.
All right, yeah. That I mean, we'll never really know unless we visit another dimension. But I think he could do it.
I mean,
I think these are all great choices.
He was in 3:10 to Yuma, and that's like a cowboy-ish. It's like kind of a Western movie. So, like cowboy, yeah. I'm just saying, I don't see him in that baggy clothing on top of a rigging of a boat. I don't see it.
I think he's a professional who does whatever he needs to do for his role in a
You have
movie, and I think he
more
will
faith in
perform
Dale
well.
than I do.
What happened?
I would have loved to see Heath Ledger in this role. Tom Hiddleston would have been really interesting. What did Tom
Hiddleston too. Yeah,
What did Tom Hiddleston look like in 2003?
little baby.
I'm trying to think of like babyface Hiddles. He is babyface.
You get a picture if
Aw.
you type in Tom Hiddleston 2003.
Yeah.
Does he look like JGL?
You know?
Yeah.
The it's not unsimilar. Look at how babyface.
He looks just like that actually right now.
Ah,
Listeners, you don't have to look this up because he looks very much like how he looks right now.
Does he though?
Yeah.
You know, I think after 19
Maybe not in the Loki show.
Yeah,
but-
I'm just saying like age is a beautiful thing. Nobody should be worthy
All right, I feel
worried.
like you're teeing this up. You're teeing this up.
Nobody should be worried of aging, and neither should Tom
But Tom
Hiddleston.
Hiddleston, ooh.
I'm just saying, Tom Hiddleston, he doesn't look the way he does in 2003, and that's fine. He is still a very handsome
How
man.
does he look?
And
How does he look now?
I'm just saying, Tony, he's the very handsome man.
He's a very handsome elderly man.
Tony, that is not what I'm saying.
Every
all.
wrinkle is beautiful.
Every photo I'm trying to send you of current day Tom Hiddleston, Discord is telling me the file is too big. And that in
It's too
itself
old.
should
He's too
prove
old.
my point that he is a beautiful man today and yesterday.
Yeah, I see it.
Age?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you. He doesn't look the same, but that's not like we don't have doesn't have to be a bad thing.
All right.
But babyface Hiddles is so cute. But Orlando Bloom is perfect. Orlando Bloom, like, let's be real, nobody could have really replaced anybody in any of these roles. Keira Knightley is not as grand of a tale. What is funny though is that in her behind the scenes, she talked about how when she auditioned or when she was first approached with the role, they told her, "Oh, you're gonna play like this governor's daughter in this period film about pirates." She thought that she was gonna be, because I don't know if you know, she was in this movie called Pride and Prejudice. When did Pride and Prejudice come out? I don't want to get my years
It's
confused.
got to be before 2003.
No, it came out after. But
Oh, okay.
so never mind. But like she
Was this another meme you saw her in? You're like,
no,
"Oh."
I saw the
Oh,
movie
okay.
Pride and Prejudice.
Okay.
It's a period film. It's it takes place in like the 1800s. And so she thought like, "Oh, it's a period film. I'm just going to wear a pretty dress, sit in a carriage. I'm not going to have to do anything dangerous." And she's like, "I'm pretty lazy, so I don't want to like be out there and stuff." She had no idea what she was signing up for. And so she auditioned for the role of Elizabeth Swann, and Jerry Bruckheimer and Gore Verbinski were like, "Yeah." Like they were so impressed by her performance. And that's what she was in. She was in this movie called Bend It Like Beckham. I haven't seen it, but that was a pretty big movie. And so they were really impressed with her interview and they told her to come in. And then Jerry Bruckheimer is very much into having actors do as much of their own stunts as possible. So
I respect that.
yeah, that scene in the first movie where she has to walk the plank, she said
Yeah.
she was terrified. She said that she stood up on that plank because they had to film it 2 times, and so she stood up on that plank for 2 days and she was just looking down. Even though, and like the thing about this filming too is that they made so many ships. They rented out a ship called, what's it called? Lady Washington. And they completely redid the ship, Lady Washington, to be the Interceptor. And then they also made they look like hollowed out boats, and then they were on top of steel riggings. And that was like the Black Pearl, that was the Interceptor. These are where they filmed, but they were out in open sea. So she is on top of this plank looking down, and it's the ocean. Like, yes, there are people on the sides that are ready to go get her and like a boat ready to go get her, but she's looking down and it's the ocean. And
Yeah.
she's terrified.
Definitely a shark in there.
And so she looks down and Gore Verbinski goes to her, like when they're about to shoot her, walking the plank. He's like, hey, I've noticed you've been a little, terrified when you get up there. Do you want me to bring in the stunt girl to do it? And she was like, you think I stood up there for 2 days and I'm not going to jump off myself? I'm going to do it. And so she did. She jumped off the plank and she walked the plank and she jumped off herself. But she just like said going into it, she thought it was going to be like an easy period piece film. And nope, she was signing up for pirates.
What I was thinking about when she was on the plank was her dress getting wet, and how do you swim in a big, long dress? She didn't have to do it for that in real life, but in the movie,
Didn't they make her take off the dress?
yeah. But then she has like an underdress,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and then that just wraps you up in the water. But it's a movie. But in real life, I mean, she still had to jump in it, but thankfully there was probably like 3 divers there ready to get her.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I love that kind of stuff because that comes across to me because I'm looking for scenes and I'm not looking to see like what's CGI or not, but when it feels real, that's when I do think like, wow, is this real or is this CGI? Because this feels real. A lot of this feels really real. When they're on the ships, when they're out in the sea. Every time when they're on the ocean, I'm thinking, are they surrounded by water? Are they not? Are they in a real ship?
Oh,
Is there a green
yeah.
screen? But no, it just looks so natural.
The
I
only
love it.
time, because they did shoot a lot on the open ocean, but there were scenes where it's this huge dome that's in Hollywood, and that is where they had to recreate the Black Pearl again because there's a scene where they sail through fog, and they tried to do it out on the ocean and film sailing through fog, but they found that the wind and the sea, everything was just not looking good, so they had to recreate it, put it in the film studio, recreate the boat again, fill it up with like 4 feet of water, and then do that again in the studio. What was also done in the studio was the interior of the Isla de Muerta, that cave.
Yeah.
It took them 5 months, 100 craftsmen, and it was all made of styrofoam, wood, and plaster to make that cave. And some of the styrofoam and the plaster, that's like the rocks on them, was painted gold to have the illusion that it was like piles of gold.
That's cool.
So they what was it, when they were contacting props, because they had to contact a lot of prop firms because there are like places that just have these props, and when films contact them, they're like, yeah, we got a candelabra, yeah, we got this, and they'll rent it out to them. So the set designer was like, hey, what do I bring in? Do I just bring in like chests and pieces of gold? And Gore Verbinski was like, listen, they're pirates, they're not art collectors. If it's shiny and it looks valuable, get it. And that was how they like filled up the Isla de Muerta cave.
And it was beautiful.
It
It did look
was
like a treasure trove.
it reminded me of that tall tale that you do in I think the second Pirate's Life for me, where you have to walk into this cave and it's all filled with treasure, but
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was straight out of just
that's straight out of Pirates, straight out of
yeah,
Another thing that was straight out of Isla de Muerta.
yeah. You see gold mountains.
What was really neat was when they shot on the sea, because first of all, like the guy who played um Norrington, Jack Davenport, he says that he walked out of hair and makeup after about like 2 hours, and he walked out, he's dressed in his Commodore outfit, and then he turns and he looks, and there they are putting like the bandana on Johnny Depp. They're getting him all nice and like Jack Sparrowed up,
Yeah, that's
and
funny.
he's like, "Oh man, here I am looking like an ice cream cone." And everybody else gets on these like cool pirate outfits. And then even Orlando Bloom said that he was standing on the rigging of like out in open ocean. He's standing on a boat with just a camera crew and Johnny Depp. He says that he was holding onto a rope and he turned, and there was he goes, it wasn't Johnny Depp anymore. It was Captain Jack
Captain
Sparrow
Jack Sparrow.
at the helm in his full like regale. And he was like, "We're really doing this. We're really doing this."
I really liked Norrington as a character.
I think he's so cool. I like him. At first, I was kind of like, all right, you kind of creepy because, you know, you want to marry this little girl, but.
I think that was a movie production fault. I think they overlooked that.
Yeah.
I don't
But
think
no,
he was a guy like, oh, I can't wait until she's 10 years older.
but he is a nice guy. He could have easily, like, you know, gone after Will Turner or like made his life hard for stealing like the woman he, because that's the thing too, he does genuinely love Elizabeth. That's kind of proven in all these movies,
Yeah.
is that he's not just after like a trophy wife or something. He does love Elizabeth, because even in like, we'll get into the plot of the second, like the rest of the movies later, but like in the second movie he like is honest with her, because he's after everything that happened in the first movie, he has left the Navy and he's just a sailor now. He's basically a pirate.
Yeah.
And he's so upfront and honest with Elizabeth, and he talks to her about everything he's been through. And then even in the third movie, when she's clearly not happy, she wants to go find Will and they're holding her captive, he sets her free. Like, he does genuinely love Elizabeth.
He's a good guy. I don't think he's done much wrong, honestly.
He's
In,
only
the,
done his job.
in this first movie, I didn't see that he did anything wrong.
Yeah, I don't even think he was like set up to be a villainous kind of guy. He was just clearly like the I think first of all, his character was there to show contrast to the pirates. Like to show, oh, this is how people were and this is how different. Like, these are pirates.
Yeah.
But yeah,
They're
he's not the
filthy,
villain.
dirty, they can't be trusted. And then you see the Royal Navy and they're clean, they follow rules, keep the
They, he,
order.
he even speaks properly and
Yeah.
all of that. But yeah, like he himself, he's not a bad guy. Barbossa is the villain of the first movie, and Norrington is just, you know, doing his job. And
Yeah,
even like even when we talked about how he what was it? Elizabeth is like, "Let's go rescue Will as a wedding gift." And he does it. He's like, "Okay, if this is what you want me to do, I'll go do it."
yeah. Good guy Norrington.
Good guy Norrington.
He deserves his wife.
I don't want to get into
I know.
his fate yet, but man,
I think that gives it away.
that's the elbow nudge way. We're not spoiler friendly on this podcast.
Never.
But by the way,
Never.
before we get into like further, for those listening, still listening, you can now rate us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast. So give us an honest rating. I'm not gonna like tell y'all what to give us, but give us an honest rating of how you think this podcast is. And we take suggestions for movies. So you can either send us a DM through Instagram, through Twitter, or you can email us at elbownudgepod@gmail.com. So elbownudgepod, P-O-D, at gmail.com, and we take movie suggestions from viewers like you. If you're listening to us on YouTube,
I'm waiting for those emails, by the way.
yes. By the way, for precedence, any social media messages will be answered by me, but if you want to get to Tony, it's through the email. If you're listening to us on YouTube, remember to give us a like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, And that's another thing too. You can leave a comment if you want us to watch a certain movie. Leave a comment down below, and I'll look at those. But yeah, is there anything else? Oh yeah, box office. That's what I wanted to touch on. So.
Oh yeah, I was looking at those.
So Bruckheimer asked for 150 million to make this film. However, they only ended up using and needing 140 million, which is kind of small compared to what the other movies were costing around this time. But in North America, from a $140 million budget, this movie grossed $305 million in North America, and with an overall total of $650 million worldwide. It was the number 3 highest grossing film in 2003 in North America. It was right behind. Number 1 was Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, which, yeah, that's kind of understandable. Number 2 was Finding Nemo, another sea film.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Another Disney film.
Somewhere beyond the sea, Jack Sparrow's waiting for me.
Okay.
And worldwide, it was 4th. Number 1 was Return of the King. Number 2 was Finding Nemo. Number 3 was The Matrix Reloaded. And number 4 was The Curse of the Black Pearl.
Matrix Reloaded? Oh, man. That was 2003?
That was 2003.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But basically, in terms of like critical reception, it was immensely popular. It's also like certified fresh by Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, it's the best in the series, apparently, to the internet.
It's the best in the series to film critics.
What about to you?
Are we going to get into our rankings now?
No, not rankings, but well, I guess this would. You have an official list?
I do.
1 through 5? You do?
Yeah, I do.
All right, so you don't want to mention if this is your number 1 or not?
Not yet.
Okay.
But yeah, this is considered the best one by film critics. And I don't know about public response, but it definitely got, like, this is the movie that got the most praise. It was such a refreshing thing to see coming out of Walt Disney Pictures, the studio. And it just took everybody by surprise that it was a good movie. I remember seeing it in theaters, and my mom thought we were going into a kid's film. She did not think we were going into what Pirates of the Caribbean actually is, this like supernatural tale of
I think it's still a kid's
skeletons
film.
And yeah, I just think that, well,
but it's one of those that the adults can enjoy too. It's just well written and smart, and the kids can enjoy it for the costumes and the skeletons and
the monkey,
the cool action and stuff. But yeah, I think I also heard this was their first PG-13.
Yep, this was Walt Disney Pictures' first PG-13 film.
So that's adult for Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at like what films were coming out around this time.
What other Disney films?
Yeah, like what Disney Pictures were coming out at this time.
Finding Nemo.
2003. Because like before Pirates of the Caribbean, the live action films were like Holes, or the Shia LaBeouf film Holes.
Yeah. Oh, I like that movie.
Yeah. Like there was a film called Tuck Everlasting. It's like a romance. There's Country Bear. There's like The Rookie, the baseball film, Snow Dogs, The Princess Diaries. Like these are kind of light-hearted, Disney films. And then all of a sudden they're just punching into the gate with oh, the score, the music for this film. By the way, did you know Hans Zimmer, he has a music producing company, and this film is not composed by Hans Zimmer. This film is composed by Klaus Badelt. Klaus Badelt is the guy who did but Hans Zimmer was the music producer and technically the supervisor. So he kind of helped, but it was really Klaus Badelt who composed the score. This movie was such a success though that after this film, Hans Zimmer signed on for the rest of the movies. He was like, I got it. I'll do the rest.
From here.
I got it from here, kid. Thank you. Thank you for making the greatest movie theme song of all time, in Caroline's opinion. But
I was
yeah.
also surprised. I thought it was more surprising that Hans Zimmer was a part of this because I thought he was. I didn't know he was on the scene already when Pirates was out.
Oh
I came
yeah.
to know him through like Christopher Nolan and like his later movies and stuff. So I didn't know this was him working on this as well.
Oh my goodness. He did I'm trying to think like of the films that he did at the time. I'm thinking kids film. I'm thinking like El Dorado because he did do El Dorado. He
Do you
did
have his
I have his disc
the
his
list, his
I do.
IMDb up?
Not his IMDb, but I have his Wikipedia. He did
Didn't he do Man of Steel
yeah.
and
Yeah, he
Amazing
did.
Spider-Man 2? He did Amazing Spider-Man 2 as well, right?
Yeah, he did.
All right.
He did Man of Steel, Spider-Man. I'm trying to look at what he did
Inception and Interstellar.
in 2003, while Gore, like what's his name, Klaus Badelt was writing the greatest movie theme song of all time. He did The Last Samurai, which stars like Tom Cruise. He did like Something's Gotta Give, which is like a rom-com. But like before that, he did Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron, such a good film from DreamWorks. He did Hannibal, with
Hmm.
Anthony Hopkins. Wait, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to get
This
that
one you
one
got right.
down.
Was it another meme you were confusing?
I didn't want to get him confused with Jack Nicholson. I always get the two confused. But he did like Gladiator, which is one of his like, whoa, like that was the big one, was Gladiator. That got him on the map. He did Prince of Egypt. Da-na-na-na. He does a lot of stuff for DreamWorks. That's the thing that I noticed is Hans Zimmer at the time, like in the early 2000s and like kind of the 90s. Oh, also he did The Lion King. We can't really forget that.
Yeah.
The Lion King was a big one. Um, but yeah, like he does a lot of DreamWorks. He did like Stallion of the Cimarron. He did Prince of Egypt. But yeah, so I think that he was just kind of busy doing other things, and then like he did King Arthur. So like when Pirates of the Caribbean they approached him with it, he was just kind of like, well, I'm working on this other stuff at the time, and then he's like, I gotta
I
do
got this.
this.
I want this to be mine.
I want this. And
Leave.
he does all of the movies after that except Dead Men Tell No Tales. He stopped.
Yeah.
But at Dead Men Tell No Tales, it was done by a protege of his.
Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer's protege.
Okay.
Let me look up his name. I have it written. Well, I guess we can get into when we get to Dead Men Tell No Tales, but his name is Jeff Zanelli, and that's like he worked under Hans Zimmer, so it still has the same feel. But we got to pay respect to Klaus Badelt for
Yeah.
giving us the
The one who
best
started it
theme
all.
song. Yeah. Best theme song of all time. It just gets more and more epic with that bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum.
Yeah, it's good. Really good.
It's so good.
The last thing I want to mention, and this just goes for the whole franchise, and I've told you before, but I don't know if there's any other material out there, whether it be books, comic books, whatever, that go into pirate lore like this. Because I feel like these are the movies that set the pirate, like the mythical pirate lore. Because I know there's stories about pirates, like, they bring in Blackbeard and things like that. But then they also do their own thing, and I think this is it. Isn't this a franchise that establishes like the Black Pearl, a dead man's chest, how Davy Jones looks, and things like that?
This is definitely like because any movie that came out before this, like I saw Muppets Treasure Island, which is a pirate film. But that like any pirate film I believe that came out before this was not a pirate film. It was like even like films on Disney Plus that I've seen, not seen, but I've scrolled past them, which is like The Tale of Blackbeard. And it looks like just this kind of like happy-go-lucky film for kids that's like, pirate. But this film was like, we're not just gonna make this a silly comedy pirate film. This is gonna be deep. We're gonna take this seriously. And don't get me wrong, these movies are funny. And like there are some like pretty like witty fights and humor, but
They
For the
took it
most
seriously
part,
in the sense that they're gonna care about it and not just make a throwaway cash grab or just throwaway kids movie. Like there's actually thought put into the story, multiple levels of personal goals and character motivations and things like that. All of that
absolutely.
comes through.
And, they're going to make it messy in the sense of like the plot because every pirate is looking out for themselves. So that doesn't mean that you can just have one main character and everybody is going to fall in line with his ideal. No, everybody's got their own thing going on. And they took that into account of how a real pirate would behave and how they would act. And they didn't shy away from like fight scenes and even like because there was like this thing that was going around where the main character of a franchise has to be the good guy, like he has to be a good role model, he has to be like the straight man, and Captain Jack Sparrow, very different than that. Captain Jack
Would you
Sparrow,
consider Captain Jack Sparrow the main character?
oh yeah, absolutely. Who would you?
I think it's Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann.
I think it's Captain Jack Sparrow. There's a reason why the franchise can't survive without him.
Well, we got to wait and see on that. Actually, we know what's going to happen. But
The
I think it is
franchise
set out.
can't survive without him.
So we spoke about this, and I wasn't able to look it up if whether or not he was supposed to only be in this movie and he returned because he was a fan favorite or not. I couldn't confirm that. But I think it really is set up to be that he was a side character that just got a lot of screen time because he just has really good on-screen presence. But I think it really is supposed to follow mostly Will Turner. I think he really is supposed to be the hero of this movie.
So I can confirm because, yeah, I looked into that too, and
Okay.
no, that's not the case. When they were planning the sequel, they already had like a script, and they were like, okay,
The sequel or this movie?
the sequel to the first movie. When they were, it wasn't that like this movie they had already had it in line. They had always said we have to have like a pirate be in this film. So it wasn't like Jack Sparrow was just going to be this pirate and he wasn't going to come out in the second film. The second movie, they knew like, okay, we're going to bring our three protagonists together again.
But did they say anything about who are we mostly following in this movie? Or who is the story about?
It wasn't framed like who the story was about, but they said, I think it was Bruckheimer who said, when we got approved for a sequel, we knew we had to bring the three back again. That being Orlando, Keira, and Johnny. So they knew they had to bring back Will, Elizabeth, and Jack.
Yeah, I think it's because of the importance that of how important they were to the franchise or the first movie, because at this point it wasn't a franchise yet. But the reason that it makes me think that is Will is because and it could also be Elizabeth as well, but we follow them from the beginning of the movie. We see them as kids and then grow up, and we follow Will's story for the most part, and then even until the very end. Well, I'm thinking about At World's End. If you consider how that ends, it kind of ties up Will's story. Well, not ties it up, but however you want to close that out, however you want to call it. But actually, even for this one, The Curse of the Black Pearl, Captain Jack Sparrow is a literal last person you see, but the story threads that need to be tied up is what happens with Will and Elizabeth.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about it like that. I was too blind in my love for Captain Jack Sparrow.
But we do see a lot of him. That's the thing. We see a lot of Captain Jack Sparrow. But my feeling from just watching the movies, I feel like they were supposed to be the main characters, and we just love like this side character a lot.
Yeah, that's definitely if that was what happened, then yeah, I'm victim to that. Because I even remembered when I was reading the production notes for at World's End, the third one, uh that the reason like Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley didn't return for On Stranger Tides was because they felt like it's done, like their story is done. And so like that
Yeah.
that was like the heart of the first three movies was their story.
And I also feel like that's what changes people's opinion on 4 and 5, because you can't have a Pirates movie without Captain Jack, but 4 also showed us what would a movie look like without Elizabeth Turner or is she a Turner? Yeah, Elizabeth Turner and Will Turner.
She's the Turner in the third movie.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
But yeah, that also shows us what would it look like without them as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. Because we're going to jump around on this, but yeah, On Stranger Tides is not the same without Will and Elizabeth. They really balance out Jack. In a way, they're both kind of his moral compass because Jack is such a complex character. At times he does good things, like he saves Elizabeth Swann without like hesitation in the first movie. He just sees a girl fall off a cliff and he's like, okay, and he dives in and he goes to rescue her. But then at the same time, he trades Will to Barbosa and is like, hey, you want him? This is Bootstrap Bill's kid.
Yeah.
So he is a very complex and interesting man. But Will and Elizabeth are kind of his moral compass because it's almost like later on in the films, Elizabeth is definitely the one encouraging him to do bad things. And Will is definitely his moral compass in doing good things. Like
yeah,
even
I think
when Elizabeth like ties him to the boat in the second movie, and then later on, like going into the movie at the end, Will is either like, okay, so either you cheated on me with him or you killed him, and either way, that's bad.
yeah. We got to get into it. Let's get into it. Let's move on to the second film, unless you missed something about the Black Pearl.
If I think of anything, I'll be sure to bring it up. But as of right now, I think I'm good with The Curse of the Black Pearl.
I bet we'll be jumping backwards anyway.
Oh yeah, Curse of the Black Pearl is just so good.
So let's move on to Pirates of the
Dead
Caribbean.
Man's Chest.
Dead Man's Chest. So
this movie takes place now with the wedding of Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann, but it's halted because Lord Cutler Beckett, who is the chairman for the East India Trading Company, which is like huge company, like a merchant company, and he has arrest warrants for Will and Elizabeth, but also for Jack, and also for Norrington, because apparently Norrington allowed Jack to escape and didn't hunt him down.
The one day head start was enough for him to be a culprit.
Yeah. So this guy Beckett shows up and he's like, listen, I'm after Jack, really. If you go and you bring me Jack Sparrow, then I'll let all of y'all free. Like, I'll give you this pardon. So here we go. Will has to leave his fiance and go find Jack and bring him back. Meanwhile, what was it? Jack is visited by, it's Will's dad. He's visited by Will's dad, Bootstrap Bill, who does not look like the way he remembers. He looks more coral.
Crustaceous.
Yeah, that's the word. Crustaceous. And Bootstrap Bill tells him, hey, your time is up. You know, you have to go pay your debt now to Davy Jones. It's time for you to serve as a crewman on the Flying Dutchman. Because apparently at some point the Pearl had sunk and Jack made a deal with Davy Jones to raise the Pearl from the depths. And he was able, like, he would have so much time free, but then after a certain amount of time, Jack has to now go and be on the crew of Davy Jones. And if he doesn't go, then Davy Jones is going to send the Kraken after him. So already Jack has Beckett after him and Davy Jones. And Will is on the way to go get Jack. And so, what was it? Will ends up finding Jack on this island where Jack and the crew are being captured by cannibals. And the cannibals are like worshiping Jack as this like god. And just huge shenanigans ensues with this whole scene in this film. But they're able to escape. And Will tells Jack like, hey, listen, there's this guy. I need to take you back. And Jack is like, I'm not going anywhere. So then they go to Tia, and that's where Jack takes him to. That's where we get introduced to the character known as Tia Dalma. She's like a
fortune teller.
Yeah. And she's the one that tells tells us and them that Davy Jones has a weakness, and that is his heart. And his heart is locked inside of Dead Man's chest. And anybody who finds the heart will be able to control Davy Jones. So now Jack intends to go find this heart and use it to have Davy Jones listen to him so he doesn't have to serve his time. Meanwhile, what was it? Will makes a deal that if he helps Jack find the heart, that Jack will give Will his compass. And because really, like, I think Beckett said something like, if you bring me Jack's compass, that because the compass is magical and it can point to whatever the heart wants the most of like whoever's holding it. So Will says, you give me, like, I'll help you find the key, or I'll help you find the key to the box or I'll help you find the heart. That's what it is. I'll help you find the heart if you give me the compass. So they say, okay, and they go to find it.
No,
However,
you were right with the key.
was it the key?
Yeah.
Okay. Because this, like I said, Curse of the Black Pearl was the most straightforward plot. From here onward, it's going to get messy. And, because at some point, the Dutchman shows up and Jack that's what it is. Jack trades Will, because the Dutchman catches up to the Pearl, and Jack gives Davy Jones Will and says, here's Will. This is Bootstrap Bill's kid. Give me more time to
get you
99 souls to pay off my debt. So already, like, Jack is like trading Will for more time, and he has like 24 hours to get 99 souls.
Yeah, Davy Jones is like, you speak so highly of this man. Can you just leave him there to suffer? He's like, yeah, you can take him. All right.
He's like, yep. So, yeah. And then on this boat, that's where Will meets his dad. He meets Bootstrap Bill. And he learns about his life and how things work on the Flying Dutchman. And so then Jack goes to, is it Tortuga again? Either way, he goes, I think it is to Tortuga because he
goes to the Tortuga to recruit the souls that he's going to give to Davy Jones.
Yeah, that's what it is. And then while he's there, that's where he sees, like, Elizabeth finds him, because Elizabeth is like, hey, it's taking a while for Will to come back. I need to go find him. And so she goes to Tortuga and she finds Jack. And she's like, where's Will? And he's like, And then that's also where they recruit Norrington.
Yeah, he just signs up.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to see him in this movie, but that's when we see him down in the dumps.
I didn't either. And I was very surprised because he doesn't look like the Norrington from the first movie. We touched upon this earlier, but he is more normal. He's not wearing a powdered wig. He's dressed like a pirate, but he agrees to go on and be like this, like, soul to sign up on the Pearl. But in reality, Norrington wants to get the heart himself because he wants to be reinstated as a Navy officer. And he tells all of this to Elizabeth because, like I said, he's very honest with Elizabeth. So they all make their way to Isla Cruces. How did Will get there? I'm trying to remember that because Will is supposed to be on the Dutchman, and then somehow they go to Isla Cruces, and that's where they find the heart. And then
that's where the chest is buried.
That's where the dead man's chest is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to remember, how did Will get there?
He was on the Dutchman.
Uh-huh.
And then I think he plans his escape because he ends up going.
He steals the key.
Yeah, he has a key, and then he ends up going on a ship. I forgot what ship, but this is the one that gets attacked. This is the first time we see the Kraken attack, with tentacles shooting out the water and wrapping around the ship. There is one more attack before this, the first attack, but you don't see any tentacles and you don't know what it is. And they're setting up that there's something huge in the ocean. But it's just a ship that gets just sucked in, like, explosively, and you have no idea what it is. But then the second time, this is the ship that Will was on. I don't remember how he got on it, but the Kraken shows up. He manages to escape, and then he, like, rafts over to the island.
Yeah, okay, I'm remembering it now. He, like, because that's where he's playing, like, dice.
Yeah, Liar's Dice. They play Liar's Dice on the Flying Dutchman.
And, what was it? When he's playing Liar's Dice, his dad, like, takes on the punishment or whatever. of like being on the ship another 99 years or something.
Yeah.
And somehow Will escapes to a ship wreckage. Well, because that's the thing. He steals the key from Davy Jones, who's like taking a nap.
While he was asleep, yeah.
Yeah,
Catching Z's.
catching some Z's. He steals the key, takes a little raft to the shore. And that is where it turns out, boom, Jack and the whole crew are there. So this huge sword fight, like huge, intricate. By the way, we haven't touched on this yet, but the action choreography on all of these films is amazing. And this movie kind of shows that off where they're on this wheel, they're sword fighting,
Yep.
and it's a three-way
Theme song playing
to the max. It's a three-way sword fight between Jack, Will, and Norrington, all for the heart. And then once we like finish this really awesome sword fight scene, somebody comes in and like interrupts it, but in this chaos, Norrington is the one that steals the heart and runs off.
Yeah.
And so he is the one that like turns it into Beckett, and he gets reinstated as an officer and stuff. But eventually the Dutchman catches up with the Pearl, and everybody is on the Pearl, and the Kraken is about to eat the Pearl. But Jack is over here like, okay, everybody, abandon ship. We're going to leave the ship. But Elizabeth is the one that realizes, oh, the Kraken's not they're not going to stop chasing us until they get Jack. They just want Jack. So she, as everybody's getting onto this escape boat, she's the one that she kisses Jack. And while she's kissing him, she handcuffs him, or she handcuffs him, right? Or ties him up.
Handcuffs.
She handcuffs him to the mast and just leaves him there. And Will only turns around to see her kiss him. But then when they get on the boat, she's like, he's going to stay with the ship. And Jack Sparrow goes down with the Kraken. And so he's dead. And that effectively is okay, Davy Jones got he got what he came for. But then Norrington now took the heart to Beckett. So Beckett now has control of Davy Jones.
And therefore the sea.
The sea, yeah. So the crew, the Pearl crew, all go to where Tia Dalma is. And Tia Dalma reveals that they can rescue Jack with the help of because Jack is not technically dead, but he's in Davy Jones's locker, which is the equivalent of pirate hell. And so therefore, that would reason that he can come out of the locker. And that means he can be rescued. And so they're like, how can we rescue Jack? And she's like, I know just the captain who can guide you. And then she presents a resurrected Hector Barbosa.
So I know in the making of this movie, they already had At World's End in mind. They were planning on filming both movies.
Not just that's
why this is movies, kind of like a cliffhanger ending.
Not just that, these movies were shot back to back and just kind of cut in half.
Yeah, so they were planned in advance, and that's why it kind of feels like half. Not really. They tie up some story plots in the movie, but yeah, it does feel like tune in next week for the finale of the Pirates movies.
Yeah, definitely. And what's good is that since they filmed it back to back, because the time span between Curse of the Black Pearl and Dead Man's Chest is pretty significant. It was 3 years, which is not your typical 2 that it takes to get a sequel that we're used to now. But what's good about
I don't know about that, and that's more like a.
It was just kind of I think that's just kind of a routine thing with.
I think 3 was kind of average.
I remember it being 2, but yeah, it's not uncommon for it to be 3. But there's a 3-year gap in between the first and second film. But for the second and third film, there's only a 1-year gap. So they really only had to okay, next year, we got to make sure we see At World's End.
Yeah, so it was definitely a 2-parter that they didn't call part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But I love the way it ended. It was exciting to see Barbosa again.
When Hector Barbosa stepped out in his drip pirate glory, it's just... I got chills, man. I got chills. I love Barbosa.
I got chills when they were just talking about bringing Jack Sparrow back, because you described it to be that, oh, he's not really dead. He's in Davy Jones' locker. But watching the movie, I thought he was dead. He got
Yeah,
swallowed up
yeah.
by a kraken. And when they were talking near the end, it did seem like a mystical, like, oh, you guys, there's a secret, there's a way we can bring him back, but are you willing to go to the ends of the earth and beyond? And then everyone is just looking around and they're like, I, and then they all agree. And then Tia Dom was like, okay, well, you're gonna need a captain who's familiar with this voyage. And then that's when you see Captain Barbosa. It was such a good ending. So exciting.
Definitely a hook to like, oh yeah, we're definitely watching the next movie.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly, but did we watch this like one night after another? Because after we saw the first one, we had to like wait a little while to see the second one. But I think after we saw the second one, we were like, all right, tomorrow, everybody, we're all on board, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And this was when
Okay.
I was already in New York. That's what I
Yeah.
remember these movies for.
Because like it even had us hooked. We were like, oh, we gotta watch the next one.
Yeah, it was so exciting.
I was ready to just watch it on my own and like, okay, I'll watch it again with the gang, but I want to see
So you
the
did
third
see it.
movie again. No, I did not watch it on my own.
Oh,
I
okay.
watched it with you and everybody else. But I was prepared that if nobody was available the next day, I was gonna watch it.
So I want to bring up some things about this movie.
All right.
Again, it does one of my favorite things, the tall tales.
Yes.
I love how they're talking about
D-
and teasing the Kraken.
the Davy Jones and the Kraken are
Yeah.
introduced in this movie. Huge pirate tall tale characters.
This is a very long movie. All of these movies are very long, but that's not a bad thing. I enjoy them. But I want to bring attention to this movie is about the villain is Davy Jones. You don't see him until like an hour into this movie. He does not show
Yeah.
up until about an hour. The Kraken, same thing, is like past the hour mark before you actually see the Kraken. And I just think it's crazy, but it has me hooked the entire time. Like I'm loving the build-up, specifically with Gibbs telling the story of the Kraken. You know, before they even name drop the Kraken, what's his name? Will Turner. He's asking Gibbs why is Captain Jack Sparrow afraid of the open ocean? And then that's when Gibbs tells him, "Oh well, if you're a believer or if you can believe the tale, there's a creature, so fearsome with giant tentacles, with hundreds of tentacles, with suction cups that can tear your face clean off and can sink ships. And well, they say, oh, that it has a stench, like it has a stench of like 1,000 souls that is taken." And I love that. And then until he
Yeah.
finally drops the Kraken, and they say the roar is the last thing you will hear before you die. That is so awesome. I love the idea. First of all, I just like giant monsters in general, but to know that that thing is lurking in the seas, and then everyone has like this kind of subtle or maybe like obvious fear of the open ocean because you don't know what's down there. We just haven't explored all of it. So is it possible that this giant octopus squid thing can exist? Is it a tall tale? Is it a myth? Or is it real? I don't know. I love that. I love that the Kraken is in here and they delivered so well on it too. Just
this
huh?
this movie, like we've talked about it before, like being the Empire Strikes Back of something. I feel like this movie is the Empire
Yeah.
Strikes Back of pirates, but not in
Yeah.
the way that like
Captain Jack is in carbonite.
no,
Except
he dies. He
Yeah,
does.
he
He
does.
dies at the end of the movie. But
Yeah.
like the way I think of that term is because like the Empire Strikes Back, it's because they go more in detail of what the Force is and how it works, and you're training to be a Jedi and things like that. You have that whole training montage with Yoda, where Yoda's telling him about how things work. And in this movie, it's because we get like the first movie was barely the iceberg on the surface of what a pirate really is, but in this movie, it's like, oh, wait till you meet the real big baddies of the sea. You thought Barbosa, like just a guy who mutinied Jack Sparrow off of his boat, was bad? Wait till you meet Davy Jones and the Flying Dutchman and the Kraken. It's like, whoa, whoa. These
Yeah,
are like
I feel like this movie
huge
is peak, not peak of the franchise, but like peak
peak
pirate
pirate.
lore that you want.
Yeah, it's peak pirate with Davy Jones and just like who would have thunk it? You know, they really knew where to go from here. It's like the first movie was getting your feet wet, but this movie is submerging you in pirates. Now, this movie, like you said, it's not peak of the franchise, and I do agree with that. I think some of the action scenes go on a little longer than need be,
They're
specifically when
very
they're,
long.
yeah, specifically at the island when
Cannibal
not,
Island.
yeah, Cannibal Island goes on too long. And it doesn't really serve a purpose to the plot. It's just like Will finds Jack on this island of cannibals,
Yeah,
and
he just has to find them.
yeah, and shenanigans ensues. Literally
Yeah.
on Wikipedia, it's one sentence because it doesn't contribute to the plot. And it's just like, okay, all right. And then even like the scene where they're fighting over the heart, it's really fun action, and I feel like that's the part where you could sit back and go, yeah, this is a kids movie. Like it entertains the youngins because it's so like bum 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 bum, and there's like
Hmm.
action and there's like really neat stuff, but in the end like it's just a long action sequence. But definitely the one that stuck in my mind was Cannibal Island. That is like, does it really have like it just feels a little more longer, it overstayed its welcome. Other than that, seeing Davy Jones was like, whoa.
Yeah, he had a
On,
great entrance.
on
You remember
the
that scene where Captain Jack is looking through the telescope? He sees Davy Jones and then boom, appears right in front of him on his
yeah,
ship.
jump scare.
Ah, that was good. That was terrifying.
What's so neat, like from the technical side, is so they actually had to film. It is what's his name, Bill Nye, and
What?
Bill Nye, not Bill Nye the Science Guy. His
I
name is
know. That's why I'm trying to figure out who you're saying.
Bill Nye.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Yeah, this is Bill Nye, Nye,
All right. What
and
about Bill?
Bill
Bootstrap
is
Bill.
Bootstrap Bill. Bill Nye plays Davy Jones, and he had to do his work in like he said it felt kind of like they thought he was gonna feel kind of awkward because everybody around him is like in full pirate getup, and when he filmed the movie, he's in like a gray tracksuit with ping pong
Yeah,
balls
you got the
attached
pajamas.
to it.
CGI pajamas.
He got the CG pajamas, but around his mouth and around his eyes, he had makeup like for Davy Jones. What's really interesting is from the CGI artist side, the way they got the texture for Davy Jones's like skin and his tentacles was one of the animators had drank his coffee cup. It was one of those disposable cups, and he threw it in the trash. And then he walked past the trash and he saw and he looked into it, and the stains inside that coffee cup left these like little brown round circles. And so he actually took it out of the trash, cut it, and scanned that dirty coffee cup into the computer. And so what they did was they kind of smoothed it, and that was how they got the texture for Davy Jones's face.
They were
I thought
inspired by garbage.
they were inspired by coffee.
Wow.
But yeah, like that was like a lot went into just developing the look of Davy Jones. Because if I was to Google like Davy Jones pirate, like, first of all, if you try to Google Davy Jones outside of Pirates of the Caribbean, it's really hard to find like
Oh yeah.
a possibility of what he would look like. But
That's what I'm saying. This is another thing that they had creative freedom on.
yeah,
Because Davy Jones is something related to pirates, right? Not the movies. Just Davy Jones is a name
yes.
that existed before Pirates of the Caribbean.
Davy Jones' locker was always like
A thing.
a pirate legend of like that's pirate hell. That's what it is. Like if you become a pirate, you got to know that you're going to end up in pirate hell, and that's Davy Jones's locker. And he is kind of like the Grim Reaper but for pirates.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then Pirates of the Caribbean gave him a face, gave him a voice, made him a character.
But what's interesting too is that they're not what we learn later in the third movie, and like this is part of jumping around, is that he's not supposed to look like that. Because the Dutchman, he's supposed to look normal. I think a lot of us grew up on SpongeBob and we remember the Dutchman,
Yeah.
like that big floating green pirate.
Yep.
But you know, he doesn't have tentacles or anything like that. He's just a pirate guy. He's just chilling with SpongeBob. And the third movie kind of gives us some insight that Davy Jones has neglected his role because his role is like I said, the Grim Reaper. He has to usher souls into the afterlife that
Yep.
die at sea specifically. And so he hasn't been doing that. Ergo, he's been corrupted and corroding and turning into this tentacle monster. And he's supposed to look like a real man. And it's interesting that the movie didn't choose to show us Davy Jones. They showed us, and they knew from a narrative angle, they're going to show us this corrupted Davy Jones, this like sea monster Davy Jones.
Yeah, that's the freedom they had with the two movies. They could describe why later.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's just done so cool. I think that that's such a neat angle because it's the same way they approached the first movie. You know, like we don't see the mutiny happen where Jack gets mutinied and thrown overboard and stuff. We're seeing everything that happened after that. And the way we
Yep.
learn of it is not even through a flashback. It's through like a tall tale told to us by Gibbs, the same way that legends would pass between other pirates. And so we learn that same thing now with these movies. Like Davy Jones, the reason he looks like that is because he's neglecting his role that Calypso gave him to usher souls.
And for a long time, because if you look at Bootstrap Bill, how long has he been deteriorating until, he has like those scales and weird shrubs or whatever growing on him?
Yeah,
How long does it take to become what Davy Jones looks like now? How long has he been neglecting his position as a captain of the Flying Dutchman for him to look like that?
exactly. I would definitely say a long time.
Yeah.
But that is just one of the cool narrative ways that they decided to approach this film. And just more power to them. That's so cool.
I also want to say 2006 and Davy Jones looks like that. I think that's really impressive.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. 2006 and Davy Jones looks like that. That, you know, I think, Tony, you're one of the first people to notice when CG is used. Mister, I look at the expressions, I look at the eyes, but Davy Jones looks good. He looks really good
Yeah.
in 2006.
I remember telling you guys that, talking about Thanos and thinking, I wonder if in 10 years Thanos is going to look like bad CGI. And if I'm going to think, wow, I can't believe I ever thought this looked good. But now looking at Davy Jones back at 2006, that's pretty impressive. It
Yeah.
looks pretty good. So I think they got it on lock.
And just like to harp on Bill Nighy's performance, one of the things that the CG artists really liked about it, because they said that they like the people who worked on animating Davy Jones, they became professionals at interpreting Bill Nighy's expressions, and they said like he's a very expressive actor. You know, the way he portrayed Davy Jones is he could have easily just been this like harsh, like I feel like the way Blackbeard was
Yeah.
portrayed
I,
in
I felt you about to say that.
yeah,
Blackbeard. Yeah, yeah.
the way Blackbeard is on Stranger Tides, that could have easily been the portrayal of Davy Jones on the last, like on the second and third movies. But no, Bill Nighy, he's kind of he's like a little ball of spunk, this Davy Jones. He likes to do little pops. He's like, he'll do
Yeah,
that
he
every now
has
and then.
strange mannerisms.
Yeah, and the
He
way
doesn't
he
have a deep, scary
talks,
voice like a villain would. He
he's
has
like,
his own
would
unique voice.
would you take this man's life? And he's like, yep, okay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's not like this Jack Sparrow, like, or even like Javier
Jack
Bardem's.
Sparrow.
Yeah, Sparrow.
Sparrow.
Yeah, he's not like that, you know. He's a pirate, and I think that that's really neat approach too. Is they tell like Bill Nighy's like, I'm a pirate first of all, so I'm gonna act like a pirate, but he's also Davy Jones. And I think that his portrayal is really cool because even that's the thing with these pirate films. The only villains I genuinely dislike are like the British guys. But like that's the point.
Yeah,
Like
relax.
they're
They're not even the
villains.
villains.
But like they're villains.
Well, Lord Beckett, he's the villain for
Oh,
sure. In
Beckett's a
this,
villain. Beckett
yeah.
is yeah, he's a villain that I despise, but Davy Jones is a villain that I like. I
I
like
could
Davy
get behind this
Jones.
guy.
I could serve on the Dutchman. I'll play liar's dice.
So let's bring up a little bit of Davy Jones' background because I really, really love the story of the Dead Man's Chest. and it ties in with the tall tale stuff we were talking about. And
Oh.
also, I feel like it has a little, it gets pretty deep if you think about it. So, the dead man's chest, what's locked away in there? His heart, his
His
beating heart,
his
still alive.
still beating
But
heart.
why is in there? Why is it in there? How did it get in there? Davy Jones took out his own heart and locked it up in a chest because he had a love, a love of his life. And we find out that, well, do we find out? Is it a woman or is it the sea?
It's a
Tia
woman.
Dama says, it doesn't matter. It's love. It's love. And that's the reason. So
Mm.
he was madly in love. But do you remember specifically what it was? Because we know that he's been heartbroken, terribly heartbroken, and he pulls the heart out of his own chest and locks it away because it's not worth the pain to him. And Tia Dalma even says that the small joys in life that he could possibly get, he didn't think it was worth it for what he was feeling. So he ripped it out and locked it away and keeps the key with him. And he buried the chest so that he never has to feel that kind of pain. Isn't that incredible?
It's heavy. Heavy, man.
That's awesome.
It's
Man. When I heard that, I was like, wow, this is deep. This is layered.
yeah, like onions
Yeah.
layered,
This is
like
like
ogres
this is
layered.
not for kids. This is PG-13.
Yeah, it just like I'm just thinking of like the creative minds that it took to just think of that. It's so genius. Where it's not only are we going to present not the original Davy Jones, we're going to present a corrupted Davy Jones, and then the reason he became corrupted is because of like this incredible historical tale, like this story that has such deep rooted, happened a long time ago, and this is what he gave up. It's just incredible, incredible.
I just love it so much. I get excited just thinking about it. I love the history of what's going on. And again, just like you mentioned, there's things that we're learning from stories that Gibbs would tell us or Tia Dama would tell us. And the fact that we didn't see all that makes it like
Even
a
better.
richer story because we know
Yeah,
a lot has happened in the past and a lot is happening now as we're watching, and there's more in the future. And it feels like you just jumped right into this pirate's life and you're along for the ride.
exactly. Now, do you remember why? Because I do. I thought
Of
you were
what?
asking like why he cut out his heart.
Oh, I was asking if you remember why they tell you in the movie. I know why they tell you in At World's End. But when Tia Dalma is explaining it, if I
It's
remember correctly, she keeps it
so
vague.
it's because in the third movie, okay, everybody, here's where we get into some
Wait, no,
spoilers.
no, no. I was asking because I know what it is in the third movie, but what does she say in this movie?
Oh yeah,
Do you
it's
remember? She keeps it
every
vague, right? She just says it's like heartbreak or whatever.
heartbreak. I do remember um what was it? She didn't she I don't know if it's Tia Dalma, but it's either her or Gibbs that says that it's like every 10 years he can come ashore to be like with the woman he loved. But I don't think that Tia Dalma's the one that says that. She keeps it pretty vague.
She says something to introduce the idea that, oh, he began to be vexed by what all men are vexed by. And then everyone's thinking, what could it be? And I think they even throw out ideas, and then only Captain Jack Sparrow, and he's like, a woman,
A
a
woman.
woman. Yeah.
A woman.
And then I think Gibbs says, oh, I thought his love was the sea. And then that's when she says, it doesn't matter what it is. It was love. It was love. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
she also says the 10 years thing as well, that he could only return to sea once every 10 years.
Return to shore.
Oh yeah, what was I saying? Seas?
Yeah, he lives on
Return
the
to
seas.
land.
He can
Yeah.
only come ashore
Yeah.
one day every 10 years.
Yeah, and then just the stories that go off from there. I I love it. Jack needs to get that chest because he needs to get out of this deal with Davy Jones, and then Will needs to get this chest because he needs to save Elizabeth, and then what's his name? Norrington needs to get this chest because he wants to get back into the Royal Navy and return to his position and his status. And everyone has their own motivation. Everyone's fighting for this thing. And it's a literal beating heart in the dead man's chest.
Yeah,
It's
and
awesome.
what we learned later from this backstory too is in the third movie, we get some history into Davy Jones, because here's the part where we jump around everybody. But we also learned that Davy Jones, before he was even the Dutchman, he was a pirate lord. And so he was probably like, I don't know if he was the lord of the pirate lord of the Caribbean, but we have like a little bit. That's the thing too, is we never see any of this. All of this is told to us via like a story. And we learned that like there was a man named Davy Jones, who was like the pirate lord of the seas, and he was part of like the pirate brethren, and then somehow he became the Dutchman and became the captain of the Flying Dutchman. And so that was how he got into this service of ushering souls into the afterlife who die at sea. But then, like as Tony said, like something like he not only did he cut out his heart and put it in a box and bury it, but he also neglected his duties as the Dutchman when he did
Yeah.
that. So there's this guy is not your one-dimensional character. He's a very complex character.
I want to call out some scenes that are memorable and people take from this movie. The whole Cannibal Island, as long as it took, I remember before watching these movies, I saw a lot of images and memes and stuff from this scene, like of uh the jar of dirt. Oh well, that was the third one. But his eyes painted on his face, like he closes his
Yeah.
eyes and he has the eyes painted over his eyelids.
That was all over the trailers. I
When he
remember
was
that.
running away from the cannibals and the way he runs,
Oh,
like he has a specific run, you know?
yep, with his hands out. He's like,
Yeah.
ah.
Also, I've always seen the I forgot the pirate's name, but it's like the two goofy comedic pirates, the one that has a fake eye and the other short bald one. And
Their
they're
name
on the
either.
rowboat. I've always seen that he's reading the Bible and he's like, "It's the Bible. You get credit for trying to read it, because he didn't know how to read." You remember when we were watching? I don't know if we were watching on Stranger Tides or we were watching Dead Men Tell No Tales. But remember we were saying like, "Oh, so God is canon in this movie?" And they established it here. I didn't even realize they established it since the second one.
Since the second movie that the Bible is a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was cool. And yeah, this was also the movie describing the compass because we see his
That's
compass not
right.
working in the first one.
But we don't know, like we just think like, oh, you're a pirate with a pistol with one bullet, a compass that doesn't point north,
Uh-huh.
and one other thing. Like you're the worst pirate I've ever seen.
Yeah. And then when they're sailing with him,
He
this
just
is
and well, even like at the end of the first movie when he opens up his compass and his compass just kind of going crazy, he's like, "Bring me the horizon." We still don't know why that compass doesn't point north,
well,
but
yeah, and I was gonna mention before that though, because they call him out on that. They're sailing with him, and this is before the scene where Gibbs is explaining to Will Turner how Captain Jack escaped the island on sea turtles and rope, and he like made a raft to escape the island. That
I,
was a legend
what
apparently.
did he use for rope? Human
Hair
hair
from my
from my
back.
back.
Savvy. No, but before that, he's like,
I
somebody calls him out. I don't know if it's Will. I don't know who, but somebody says, where is he taking us? That compass doesn't even point north." And then Gibbs says, "Ah, but are we going north?" And then leaves it at that. He says, "Are we
yeah,
going north?" And then
yeah.
they just keep sailing. So they're acknowledging this is a broken compass. We don't know why he
But
uses it.
or is it broken?
It's broken to our knowledge.
But that's like what like I think that's also what Gibbs is kind of alluding to. It's like that
Yeah.
compass doesn't point north. It's like, but are we going north? It's like the compass that's kind of already a little bit of an illusion that the compass doesn't point to north, but the compass does point to what you want.
Yeah. But I found it interesting that they don't explain it in the first one. And when they make this first movie, they don't plan on making the second one yet because they don't even know how well this movie is going to do. Once they make the second one, they're already planning the third one because it's been a success. So
Yeah.
I just find it interesting that they're leaving the compass a mystery. They're just is very vague. They don't actually this whole franchise doesn't explain why it points to what your heart desires most. It just does.
Yeah, we
And
never do get like a history on the compass.
I think that's great though. It's just more pirate
It's
legend
just a
stuff. It
thing.
just yeah, there's curses, there's krakens, there's Davy's Jones' locker, there's an edge of the world. You know, this is just one of the things that hey, oh, there's a fountain of youth. This compass, it just points to whatever your heart desires. That's it. No
Yeah.
more explanation. But yeah, this is a movie where you're told what the compass points to.
It establishes that the compass will point to what your heart desires.
Yeah.
And that's
The thing you
why
want most in the world.
Beckett wants the compass. Because
Yes.
he even tells Willie, you don't have to bring me Jack, but bring me Jack's compass.
And more specifically, he wants the dead man's chest, but his way of getting to the chest is through this compass. But he wants the chest to rule over Davy Jones to rule over the sea.
Yep.
It's great. It's
It's
really
so
good.
so good. The second
Yeah.
movie is good, and you know what? The second movie made
The most.
the most money out of all
Yeah.
5 movies. It is still number 1. It made
Yeah.
1.06 billion
Yep.
worldwide at the box office. This was huge.
It's amazing. It's amazing how they did that. This was not in my sphere of things that I was into at all. I had no idea this franchise was taking over the world while I was living my life in ignorance. So it's
You were
crazy to
thinking
see.
about the Sam Raimi movies and being shaped by
2006, yeah, I was waiting for Spider-Man 3 to come out
yeah,
next
yeah.
year. Yeah, that's incredible to break a billion because now every other Marvel movie breaks a billion. But back in 2006,
This is huge.
that's a big milestone.
This is huge.
Yeah.
1 billion troops. 1 billion troops.
But yeah, is there any other scenes or anything that stood out to you?
I'm trying for the second movie. I'm gonna be honest, Tony. For me, the big one is not. I'm not giving away my ranking by saying this.
You're
But
giving it away. I knew
no, I'm
it.
not. No, I'm not.
At World's End, number one for
No, it's
Caroline.
not. Number 3 though is big and it's good. And this movie to me is like, all right, I want to watch this. This is my Infinity War because I'm not you. I like Endgame a little more than Infinity War. But this movie is
Okay.
my Infinity War because then we get to At World's End and At World's End is good. I like it.
Okay. So yeah, let's move on. I think I've said what I had to say. I love this movie for Davy Jones. I love it for the Kraken. I love it for the tall tales. And yeah.
Do you love it though? Because we actually do get Elizabeth Swann out of those dresses and into pirate gear, and we
Yeah.
actually get to see her pirating.
She's a pirate. Through and
She's a
through.
she's a pirate, and this is where we get introduced to chaotic neutral Elizabeth Swann, because in the first movie she's just kind of like the governor's daughter. You know, you can tell that she's got some spunk in her, and she's not like your typical period heroine. She's not a damsel in distress. But in the second movie, it's where it's like, okay, Elizabeth, I see you. Like how like first of all, like kissing Jack, tying him to the boat, but also like um the way
That was really
she
messed up, by the way. I was not on board for that.
I
Even
was
though pirates always double cross each other,
always.
for some reason this one hurt
Yeah,
when
that's the
she left
captain.
Captain Jack Sparrow to die.
First of all, even a pirate wouldn't do that because that's the captain. Like even a pirate, that like a mutiny was something that was considered like when it happened in the first movie. So in this movie, we've already established that pirates respect their captain. And so for her to do that, like that's not even a pirate thing. Even a pirate wouldn't have betrayed Captain Jack Sparrow. That was just an underhanded thing that she did by handcuffing him to the ship. And
And
then
then she pretends to care at the end, saying, "Yeah, I want him back. She literally says he was a good man,"
yeah,
after
yeah,
she kills him.
and Will is looking at her like, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I bet he was. I
I
bet
bet
he
he would.
was.
Yeah, okay. That's what you really think about him, sure. Like Will is on to her. That was a big
Yeah.
thing too, because they even kind of fought like at the end and in the beginning of the third movie because he was just not on board with how she was acting and what she did to Jack.
I was not on board, Caroline.
I wasn't on board either.
I wasn't on board. Jack was on board dying, and I was not on board with him being on board. I wanted him to deboard. But anyway.
But yeah, this is where we get chaotic, neutral Elizabeth Swann. And you know what though? As much as I wasn't on board with that, it does make her an interesting character. And then
Yep.
especially
I accept it. It's a pirate's code. I accept it. I just don't approve it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do not approve and encourage, but I do think
Allow.
I'll allow it. I do think it was interesting to have Elizabeth Swann do that, and it made her dimensional. She wasn't just this one-dimensional character of like the girl. Like no, she has her own ways of doing things, and it can be underhanded sometimes. But you know, it's a pirate's life.
It is a pirate's life. You just got to live with it.
Savvy.
Hey everybody, this is Tony and Caroline here again from the editing bay. And we're just here to tell you we went on a little long with this Pirates episode. There was a lot to talk about. We covered 5 movies.
By a little, we mean a lot long.
Yeah, we went a lot long. So we just want to cut the episode here, to give you some breathing room. Yeah, we'll continue the second half of this episode.
In a part 2.
Yeah, and part 2 is going to go up at the same time. So we'll continue in part 2.
As we fade out, we just want to remind you guys to give us a like, comment, subscribe. If you're listening to us on YouTube, hit the bell icon. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcasting platform, please give us a honest review, a rating, and hit the follow if you want to hear more of us in the future. And sorry, we went on a little bit of a binge word vomit here. We really like these movies, but tune in later for part 2.
There's a lot to talk about. Thank you.